Chapter 17:05. Not long after, a dozen youngsters were dragged out from the back of the carriage. They thought that they were going to suffocate in the trunk. However, when they realized that they were on a barren, trash-filled beach, they couldn't wait to return to the trunk. What do they want? Did they want to dump their corpses? Go into the sea, all of you, Chun Zhao ordered. The hoodlums' hearts skipped a beat. Some started crying while others knelt down. They were frightened, really frightened. Sir, I was wrong. Don't kill me. The girl knelt on the ground and hugged Chun Zhao's leg. Chun Zhao pushed her lightly, and she fell to the ground. I don't need an apology. Bang, bang, bang. Chun Zhao fired his machine gun into the air again. Go into the sea, or I'll shoot you full of holes. The young men were herded into the sea by Chun Zhao's people. It wasn't cold right now. After all, it wasn't October yet. However, they felt that the seawater was bone-chilling ice. Before long, someone started drowning. Chun Zhao washed the drowning people onto the shore. Among the dozen hoodlums, the longest one struggled in the water for less than 20 minutes. In the end, they all lay on the beach. Only then did Chun Zhao leave with the people from the association. Chun Zhao didn't want to kill them all. They didn't deserve to die yet. Chun, what's the situation with the Killing Stone Seal mission? Gaia asked. Only Gaia didn't participate in the mess just now. If Chun Zhao and the others went overboard, she would probably stop them. It's not good. The seal on the Killing Stone can collapse at any time, Chun Zhao said. Also, according to my friend, the sealed fox, Tamamonome, is very powerful. Compared to you? Everyone looked at Chun Zhao. I'm not sure. She might be stronger or weaker than me. I'm not sure, Chun Zhao said honestly. Anyway, you don't have to participate this time. You can't participate anyway. Just treat this trip to Japan as a vacation. Mr. Tianxi, you'll be their tour guide. Hi, President. Donya Tianxi, bring me to your bladesmithing workshop, Kira said with great interest. Although Donya Tianxi did not belong to the bladesmith workshop, his sect was considered one. In fact, the current sects were very similar to enterprises or companies. There were people who joined and people who left. It didn't say that once one entered the sect, they would have to serve for the rest of their lives. The sword forging workshop was the best sect in Japan for forging weapons, but there weren't many people. Therefore, even though Donya Tianxi had left the workshop, he still maintained a good relationship with it. Moreover, the blade forging workshop was different from most sections. They were not good at fighting. Donya Tianxi, for example, was only average in strength, but his weaponsmithing skills were extremely high. Of course, apart from Kira, the others had no interest in the bladesmithing workshop. I'm going to Disneyland, Morse said. Everyone looked at Moore and then turned their heads away. Moore, how old are you? You still want to go to Disneyland? There's a Disneyland in LA too. It's different. This is Tokyo Disneyland. My goal is to visit all the Disneylands in the world. If you want to go, then go. I want to accompany you. Me too. I won't go either. Everyone expressed their position. How old were they to go to Disneyland? After arriving at the hotel, Chun Zhao checked in. He also told the hotel to prepare. He planned to have a party there. At the same time, he called Fei Lai to inform her that Gaia and the others had arrived. Kaori, there's a party in the hotel later. Do you want to come? Fei Lai asked. Sorry, Miss Fei Lai, Chio Kaori said helplessly. I have something to do at home. I have to rush home after dropping you guys off. Is it urgent? Chio Kaori hesitated and then nodded. Then you can go back first, Fei Lai said. We're fine too. That's not good, Chio Kaori said hesitantly. It's fine, Fei Lai said. We have bodyguards. Of course, the biggest function of these bodyguards now was to carry the bags and do manual labor. Portia had always been depressed. She had spent more than $20,000 today, and it was all borrowed by Fei Lai. When she left in the morning, she had been warning herself. She couldn't buy any more. She couldn't cut off her hands. But when she saw the dazzling lineup of famous brands, she was lost again. When they walked out of the mall, Portia finally realized what had happened. Portia felt that she would never be able to pay back the money. I'll take you back to the hotel, Chio Kaori said dutifully. It won't take long anyway. It wasn't that she was worried about Fei Lai and the others' safety. It was her duty. Of course, Even if she wasn't there, the 4 bodyguards would still protect them. These 4 bodyguards were all locals, and they all had gang connections behind them. This was one of the specialties of Japan. The best bodyguards weren't security companies made up of retired soldiers. Instead, they were made up of gangs. If a rich person from another country or country came to Japan, they would hire a security company made up of local gangs. This meant that they accepted the protection of the local gangs. It was expensive, but it was definitely worth it. These bodyguards wouldn't just be dutiful. If something happened, the gangs behind them would also come out to solve the problem. To some extent, they were all trustworthy. They wouldn't allow others to break this rule. Moreover, all the local gangs would follow this rule. If an outsider hired a bodyguard from one of the local gangs, the other gangs wouldn't attack them easily either. The 4 bodyguards had been contacted by the hotel. Each person's daily salary was $20,000. 10 days would be $200,000. For people for 10 days would be $800,000. This was actually a form of protection fee. However, Chun Zhao was willing to accept this rule. After all, this was someone else's territory. If Chun Zhao was alone or with his family, he wouldn't have to pay the protection fee. But he had his own things to do. Therefore, it was reasonable to spend some money to ensure his safety. The bodyguards would also do their best to protect their employer. They didn't just receive high pay. They were the representatives of their own clubs. If something happened to them and their employer was hurt, they wouldn't just lose their jobs. Not only would they lose their jobs, but their families would also be implicated. Chapter 1706. Apart from Chun Zhao's family, Portia didn't know anyone else at the party. Chun Zhao, Fei Lai, and even little Jerlin knew everyone at the party like the back of their hands. Portia regretted that there were 2 or 3 kids at the party. They seemed to be enjoying Chun Zhao's work too. Gaia, Mr. West didn't come? They'll come tomorrow or the day after, Gaia said. It couldn't be helped. They couldn't let go of all the matters of the association at once. For example, some people had missions. They couldn't let go of them first and finish them when they came back. So, they had to finish the missions first before leaving. The first wave of people who had nothing to do came, and there would be more people coming tomorrow and the day after. In an ordinary apartment, Chiyo Kaori looked at her sister coldly. When his sister came back, she had some injuries on her body, and her body was also wet. It was as if she'd fallen into the water and been crying in her room. Chiyo Kaori kicked her sister's door open. Xiaoyi, what's going on? Chiyo Kaori covered her head with the blanket. Did those guys bully you? Chiyo Kaori asked. She knew that her sister always skipped school. She even hung out with some hooligans. Chiyo Kaori wanted to discipline her sister, but she didn't know how. She had her own studies, and she had to work part-time. She was so tired every day. She didn't have enough energy to take care of her sister. But no matter what, Chiyo Kaori was her sister. They depended on each other since young. Now that she knew that her sister was bullied, Chiyo Kaori couldn't bear it. Chiyo Kaori couldn't bear it. Right now, she just wanted to help her sister vent her anger. Chiyo Kaori didn't want to say it either. She was already extremely afraid of the mafia. If her sister offended them, it wouldn't be good. So, she just wanted to bury her fear in her heart. Chiyo Kaori angrily pulled the cup off her sister's head. Xiaoyi, tell me who hurt you. I'll take revenge for you. You can't do anything, Chiyo Kaori said, looking at her sister. You don't know anything. Of course, she hated him too. Of course, she wanted revenge. But she knew that they weren't enemies she could fight. They were the mafia. No, I can do it. Trust me. How can I believe you? Who do you think you are? Superhero? Chiyo asked. The other party is a mafia. Mafia? This is Japan. How could there be a mafia here? It's true. Those people are from the mafia. Chiyo was also in despair. She didn't expect to flag down a random car. He had thought that it was prey. In the end, the other party turned out to be a mafia. Even if it's the mafia, I will make them pay the price. You can't do anything. The police won't do anything. They won't dare to do anything. Chiyoya was full of distrust toward her sister. Chiyo Kaori was very angry. She wanted to tell her sister that she was not ordinary. She had the ability. Unfortunately, she couldn't say it. Because Chiyoya was an ordinary person, Chiyo Kaori silently walked out of the room and picked up the phone. Hello, Murata, help me investigate something. Chiyokori knew who her younger sister was messing around with. So if his sister had encountered the mafia, her accomplices were probably the same. So even if Chiyo Yaya didn't want to say anything, she also had a way to find clues from her accomplices. On a residential street, a figure slowly wandered on the street. The figure's steps were slow, and he was holding a katana in his hand. The katana's blade was dripping with blood. The man was wearing a samurai costume, and his feet were stepping on wooden clogs. The wooden clogs made a ka-ka sound. Just at this time, a police car stopped at the corner of the street. Is there a person over there? Two police officers in the police car pointed not far away. The street lights were slightly dim, which made people feel very uncomfortable. Baka, is cosplay so reckless? Walking on the street in the middle of the night with a katana, what a bastard. A police officer got out of the car, pointed at the samurai who was walking over and shouted, "Hey, kid over there, come here." The samurai walked to the dim street light. At this time, the police saw the samurai's body was stained with blood, and the blade was also stained with blood. The samurai's expression was also somewhat unnatural. He grinned, as if he was laughing. His eyes were wide open, and his hair was disheveled. This wasn't a samurai, but more like a madman. The police officer was startled and immediately pointed his gun at the samurai. "Stop! Don't move!" The samurai raised his katana. The police officer shouted again, "Don't move! Move again, and I'll shoot." The samurai let out a horrifying laugh. That laugh provoked the police even more. Bang! The police opened fire. The samurai's katana slashed through the air. The bullets were cut in half by the katana. Seeing the two cut bullets in front of the samurai, the police officer's expression completely froze. At this time, the samurai once again made his stance. Don't move. Put down your katana. Put down your katana." Bang, 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 the police officer's nerves finally snapped, and he fired continuously. Scatter. The samurai uttered a single word. The katana drew a few arcs of light in the air. All the bullets were cut down by the samurai. Ka-ka, there were no more bullets. The police officer's face paled. The samurai's expression became even more horrified. Chaotic Sakura. The samurai's figure suddenly disappeared. An ear-piercing, cutting sound resounded in the air. The two police officers inside and outside the car both froze. Then, the car was suddenly cut in the middle. The two police officers also turned into pieces of meat. The samurai acted as if nothing had happened. His footsteps were still slow. He paced slowly under the night sky. Two hotel waiters were delivering breakfast to Chun Zhao and Fei Lai. The two waiters chatted in low voices. "Did you hear? Something happened again last night." "What?" "I heard that in a community street in Akihabara, more than a dozen people died, including policemen. It is said that they were all hacked to death by samurai swords, and their bodies were cut into pieces. When I came here, I passed by the Shineoka area. The entire street there was completely blocked, and a large number of policemen went in and out." Portia looked up and asked, "Where did you say people died?" The two waiters had thought that since they were all foreigners, they wouldn't understand what they were saying. "I'm sorry." The two waiters hurriedly apologized. If the customers complained, they might be fired. After all, they'd be caught saying such things while working. "Did you say something happened in Akihabara?" Portia asked. Their plan today was to go shopping in Akihabara. If something happened there, they might have to change their schedule for the day. Chapter 17:07. Portia, did something happen? I think there was a madman in Akihabara last night. He killed people on the streets with a katana. Portia didn't fully understand either. After all, the two waiters didn't know the specifics. They added some guesses of their own. So, what they told Portia wasn't that accurate. Portia wasn't Japanese, so she couldn't completely understand what the waiters were saying. Just then, Jalanash, Asalisa, and Nami walked in. The three of them were definitely shopaholics. Also, because the association sponsored them, each person's spending didn't exceed $100,000 and could be reported to the association. Plus, the three of them were all rich. Their salaries in the association were all high-income people. Even the workers at the periphery were far above the national average, let alone them. Miss Fei Lai. Portia said worriedly. A murder just happened in Akihabara. Will be dangerous if we go now. It's fine. We have a lot of people and bodyguards. Just then, Chiyo Kaori walked in. Kaori, you're here. We should go. Kaori, you don't look well. Did something happen at home? Maybe Chun Zhao can help. Thank you, it's nothing. Chiyo Kaori had been worried about her sister the night before. So, she didn't sleep at all. Of course, she didn't forget her job either. After all, being a tour guide for Feilai and the others for 10 days was equivalent to half a year of her income. Just then, Chun Zhao saw a figure behind Chiyo Kaori. The person's aura was exactly the same as Blackie's. However, his attire was different. He wore traditional Japanese clothing. He held a short scythe in one hand and a chain wrapped around the other. Is this the Japanese death messenger? It seemed that death messengers all over the world had different styles. Chun Zhao wondered if the Chinese death messenger was really ox head or horse face. Chun Zhao raised an eyebrow. Wait, Chun Zhao said. I'll change my clothes and walk around with you. Everyone was astonished, and Portia's face was filled with disbelief. Chun Zhao actually wanted to go shopping. According to Feilai, Chun Zhao hated shopping to the bone. Now, he actually wanted to go shopping. Osorisa, Jalanash, and Alice all looked regretful. After changing, Chun Zhao followed the others out. Chun, are you sure you want to go shopping with us? Autumn Leaf Plains is a second-dimensional Yuan sacred land. Of course, we have to go and take a look. Actually, Chun Zhao also read Japanese comics. Of course, Chun Zhao wasn't a fanatic. At most, it was a hobby to pass the time. Compared to Shinjuku and Ginza, Akihabara had fewer people. But with at least 1 million visitors a day, it could still be considered prosperous. There were so many business centers in the world, but only a few could receive 1 million visitors a day. Moreover, a large portion of the people here were anime lovers. All kinds of bizarre cosplay could be seen everywhere on the streets. It was also a place of pilgrimage for anime lovers from all over the world. Of course, as one of the shopping centers, this place didn't only have 2D. It was also a shopping mecca. Feilai and the others had already entered a shop. Chun Zhao leaned against the railing and watched the crazy women pick out the items. 4 bodyguards stood outside too. Hey, Chun Zhao called out to the 4 bodyguards and made a smoking gesture. Give me a cigarette. Sir, I know English. One of the bodyguards took out a cigarette and passed it to Chun Zhao. Also, you can't smoke here. You have to go over there. Okay, thank you. Japan was a country that was extremely conservative with its rules. It wasn't bad, but it would indeed make people feel pressured. Many places in Japan were non-smoking areas. There would always be 1 or 2 places on each street that were specially used to attract people. The other places were completely non-smoking. Chun Zhao went to the non-smoking area to smoke. Just then, there was a commotion in front. A large number of tourists were running in his direction. Something seemed to have happened in front of them, causing great panic. Chun Zhao and the 4 bodyguards immediately ran to the shop where Feilai and the others were shopping. Chun, what's wrong? I don't know. Something seems to have happened. I saw a large number of people running this way. Chun Zhao didn't know what exactly happened. However, he didn't want the commotion to affect Feilai and the 2 kids. Immediately, everyone heard gunshots outside. The police car started to block the road and evacuate all the tourists. Mr. Chun, Miss Feilai, you guys go first. I'll go take a look outside. Chiyo Kaori couldn't care about her job anymore. Saying that, she ran to the street and ran toward the source of the commotion. Feilai, you guys go play somewhere else. I'll stay and watch. Okay, be careful, Feilai said helplessly. Portia didn't understand. There was clearly an emergency ahead. First, Chiyo Kaori ran in that direction, but Chun Zhao stayed to watch. She really didn't understand what they were thinking. Was it really that fun to watch? The road ahead had already been blocked by the police. All the tourists had been evacuated too. However, the police didn't enter the scene. Their mission seemed to be to block all the entrances and exits. Kaori, you're here so fast. Are you nearby too? When Chiyo Kaori rushed to the scene, she saw one of her companions there. Kishimoto, what's going on? Chiyo Kaori asked. I don't know. I received a notice from the Metropolitan Police Department that there's a cosplayer who randomly slashes people with a knife. Just a cosplayer? Chio Kaori didn't think that a crazy cosplayer could make the police block the scene. 10 people were killed here last night, Miki Kishimoto said. They were all slashed with knives. Even the police cars were cut open. There were a few bullets cut open at the scene, too. Could it be the Devil Blade? Chio Kaori's expression darkened. The Devil Blade was a general term for a type of monster. It was actually a monster that controlled people. The main body was the blade. The Devil Blade was a very difficult monster to deal with. They weren't afraid of death and only knew how to kill. Their swordsmanship was also extremely powerful. As long as the body of the blade wasn't destroyed, it would never be defeated. Just at this moment, a piercingly cold breeze blew past. Chio Kaori and Miki Kishimoto's expressions changed. A samurai with a katana was walking toward them. The katana in the samurai's hand emitted a thick, demonic aura. Divine Emperor of the Nine Heavens. Chapter 1708. The samurai had a strange smile on his face. Step by step, he walked toward the two of them. But at this time, the roar of a motorcycle came from behind the samurai. The samurai turned around and saw an extremely cool heavy-duty motorcycle rushing towards him. The rider of the heavy motorcycle was wearing a black windbreaker and a red and black helmet. On the left side of the heavy motorcycle was a machine gun. Da-da-da, scattering brilliance. The samurai's katana slashed in the air. The machine gun bullets created sparks on the samurai's katana. The heavy motorcycle suddenly crashed into the samurai. The samurai's figure flashed, avoiding the heavy motorcycle. Chaos Sakura. The samurai attacked again. In an instant, the samurai turned into a stream of light, his figure extremely fast. Oh no! Sakurako, be careful. Suddenly, a short figure appeared in front of Sakurako without warning, holding two small katanas, crossed to block the samurai's attack. Little Devil Star. Seeing the newcomer, Kishimoto Mitsuki and Chio Kaori were very happy. Among them, Little Devil Star was the best at using katanas. How could there be a sword devil in the city? Little Devil Star regretfully looked at the samurai in front of him. Although he blocked the samurai's attack, he could still feel the terror of the sword devil in front of him. The samurai tilted his head, muttering, 1, 2, 3, 4. Slowly, the smile on the samurai's face became more and more brilliant, but also more and more terrifying. Little Devil Star crossed the two katanas in front of his chest. As a sword user, he could feel the terror of the sword devil more than anyone else. This sword devil exuded the smell of blood. Did this sword devil kill 100 people? Or 1,000? At this time, the samurai slightly tilted his head. Another person came from behind. Murata. Seeing Murata also came, everyone couldn't help but be happy. Murata was their leader and also the strongest. Murata Ishino clenched his fist and looked at the samurai with an unfriendly expression. Is this the guy who ruined my weekend? Kazufuru. The samurai suddenly turned around and slashed at Murata Ishino. Steel. Murata Ishino's body suddenly turned into metal. Hiss! The katana tore Murata Ishino's clothes, but it could only leave a shallow white line on his chest. Is that all you've got? Haruka Murata patted his chest. The warrior gently stroked the edge of his sword and assumed the stance of a bow. In an instant, the warrior's aura changed. Murata, be careful! Little Devil Star shouted. At this moment, the samurai was no longer a puppet, but an unsheathed sharp blade. A black aura was released from the warrior's body. Fusion Chop. The samurai transformed into a black stream of light, and his figure could no longer be seen with the naked eye. The speed of the blade was peerlessly fast, bringing with it boundless terror as it attacked Murata Ishino. Ikkyo Murata only felt a suffocating pressure. Bang! A huge fist attacked from the side of Murata Ishino, directly sending Murata Ishino flying. The giant fist took the place of Murata Ishino and received the terrible blow of the samurai. An arm flew up. The owner of this arm was a ghost. It was Chiyo Kaori's spirit-branded Shikigami, Chigue. Chiyo Kaori felt the same. When the white ghost's arm was cut off, she also felt like her arm was cut off. Damn it! Seeing Chiyo Kaori taking the blow for him, Murata Ishino immediately felt uncontrollable anger and flew towards the samurai. The samurai's sword was facing downwards, holding the hilt with both hands. He suddenly stabbed it into the ground. In an instant, a ripple spread out in all directions. The movement of the 5 people at the scene instantly slowed down. The samurai also turned into a white ghost. Everyone also instantly knew the identity of this demon blade. White Face Onigami. Among the many demon blades, it was the most terrifying demon blade. Many demon blades in the world were created by humans. Because of various reasons, they turned into demon blades. But White Face Onigami was a demon blade created by 100 demons. Moreover, it was a demon blade created by the blood of the bird Feather Sky Emperor. Of course, White Face Onigami also had another identity, a general under Tamamo no Mae. While everyone was in a daze, White Face Onigami turned into a beam of white light. The first to suffer was Murata Ishino. His body was directly cut open by White Face Onigami. Startled, Little Devil barely managed to raise his 2 odachi to block the attack. But in an instant, the 2 odachi were shattered. Little Devil's left arm flew up. White Face Onigami did not stop. Instead, he turned to the third target, Chiyo Kaori. Suddenly, a wave of noble spirit descended from the sky. The barrier created by White Face Onigami was instantly disintegrated. The noble spirit forcibly stopped White Face Onigami's attack. Zhang Tianyi descended from the sky and slapped White Face Onigami's chest with one hand. Scram! White Face Onigami was sent flying dozens of meters, crashing into the glass of the building behind him. White Face Onigami was just about to get up when a hand suddenly pressed down on his shoulder. "Lend me your sword." Without thinking, White Face Onigami slashed behind him with the blade. But the hand grabbed White Face Onigami's hands that were holding the hilt first. Chun Zhao crushed the hands and tore off the demon's blade. After the sword was in his hand, Chun Zhao's figure suddenly changed. Chun Zhao had heard that demon swords could affect people's minds and make them be controlled by them. But Chun Zhao did not feel that way. However, his appearance had changed to that of a warrior. Even his appearance had changed. He had become a white-faced ghost with 2 horns on his head and blood-red eyes. Demonic chi rippled on Chun Zhao's body, but only on the surface. There was no other change. Just then, Zhang Tianyi walked into the building and looked at Chun Zhao. "Monster, surrender now." Chun Zhao felt a toothache. His figure flashed, and he fled as fast as he could. Zhang Tianyi was aghast. This demon's speed was too fast. Even he couldn't catch it. If the monster had slashed at him, how could he have blocked it? No, that demon's sword can't be this strong. Zhang Tianyi frowned and looked down. There was a withered corpse on the ground. The corpse's hands were twisted. Thinking carefully, Zhang Tianyi suddenly understood. The demon sword was no longer the one he'd slapped away. Chun Zhao was probably the only person who could take the demon sword in such a short time and not be controlled by it. Zhang Tianyi took out his phone and called Chun Zhao. "Chun Zhao, was that you?" "It was me." Chun Zhao did not deny it. "Say, if a demon sword suddenly appeared when you were returning the Yasakani no Magatama and stole it, would that be reasonable?" Reasonable. You're so thoughtful." Actually, Chun Zhao had thought of this on the spur of the moment. The demon sword was useless to him, but it was not completely useless. At least pretending to be someone controlled by the demon sword was very deceptive. 9 Heaven's Divine Emperor. Chapter 1709. The demon blade had its own will. However, to Chun Zhao, it was impossible for this bit of willpower to replace him. Chun Zhao was the kind of person who wouldn't be moved by external things. Even back then, when he wasn't so powerful, Chun Zhao would ask him to do a striptease when he was tempted by the root of corruption. Moreover, Chun Zhao had successfully discovered the function of the undead key and absorbed the black dragon soul fragment, making his soul and will even stronger. Chun Zhao felt that if the demon did a striptease, it might be more effective than just bewitching him. But to be honest, the demon blade completely occupied and robbed his body. It couldn't even enter Chun Zhao's brain. Chen, you're back. Did you see what's going on? Fei Lai and the others saw Chun Zhao walk over. The police have sealed off that area, Chun Zhao said, smiling. I can't get in. Fei Lai didn't think that Chun Zhao was telling the truth. Osorisa, Jalanash, Nami, and Alice understood Chun Zhao the best. Something big must have happened in the area sealed off by the police. Just then, Fei Lai's phone rang. It was Chio Kaori. Her voice was a bit weak. Ms. Fei Lai, I can't be your tour guide for the next 2 days. It's okay. I think something must have happened, Fei Lai said considerately. If there's anything you need help with, just tell me. If I can help you, I won't reject you. Fei Lai said understandingly, just tell me. No, it's okay. I could do it myself. Thank you, Miss Fei Lai. After hanging up, Fei Lai looked at Chun Zhao with some resentment. You made us lose a tour guide. What do you mean? It has nothing to do with me. If you weren't stopped by the police, we might not have lost this tour guide. You can hire another one. Chio Kaori, Ishino Murata, Little Devil Sakurako, and Kishimoto Mitsuki all stared at Zhang Tianyi in shock. That terrifying white-faced demon had beaten the 5 of them up so badly that they couldn't fight back at all. In that instant, the demon could have killed all 5 of them in one move. But Zhang Tianyi, who had suddenly arrived, had sent him flying with one move. The old man was so powerful that it made people's hair stand on end. This made everyone confused about Zhang Tianyi's identity. At this time, Sakurako's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise as she stared at Zhang Tianyi. Little girl, don't stare at me like that. I'll be embarrassed. Zhang Tianyi said disrespectfully. If you admire me very much, contact me in private. Are you the Taoist Master Zhang Tianyi of Mount Longhu, Celestial Master Sect in Huaxia? Sakurako looked at Zhang Tianyi in shock. Keep it down, keep it down. Don't call me down, Master. Just call me Heavenly Master, Zhang Tianyi said with a smile. His face was filled with an expression of come and praise me quickly. Sakura, who is he? Chio Kaori asked in confusion. The most powerful psychic in the world, the leader of the Huaxia spirit world, Sakurako said. Zhang Tianyi looked at Sakurako. He had a high status and seniority. However, he wasn't very famous in the spirit world. At the very least, he was much less famous than the 23rd generation Blood Mary. Even in Huaxia, only the older people knew about him. But Sakurako seemed to be very familiar with him. Little girl, your family is? Zhang Tianyi looked up and down at Sakurako. Sakurako was still wearing the motorcycle helmet, and her body was also tightly wrapped. Master, my name is Sakurako Suzuki from Nagoya's Hell Ghost Vision Suzuki family. Hell Ghost Vision, is there anyone in your family who knows me alive? To be honest, it's not that Zhang Tianyi looked down on the Suzuki family. Their family's method was to borrow the power of ghosts and gods, and they could gain great power in a very short time. This method was called Hell Ghost Vision, and it trapped the power of ghosts and gods in the body. This method seemed powerful, but no one who used this power could live past the age of 35. Therefore, the Suzuki family was also famous for their short life. It was precisely because of this that Zhang Tianyi said these words. Decades ago, Zhang Tianyi did know 1 or 2 people from the Suzuki family, but they were also young. Those 2 young people were the rising stars of the Suzuki family, and they were proficient in Hell Ghost Vision. But today, decades later, the souls of those 2 youngsters might have already perished to the ends of the earth. How can mortals bear the power of ghosts and gods? It's nothing more than using the young body to fight. Master, I saw you at the Huaxia Dao discussion conference 10 years ago. Sakurako said. Oh, I see. It seems that I presided over the opening ceremony of the Huaxia Dao discussion conference. Master, may I ask if you destroyed the white-face ghost vision? No, he escaped. Zhang Tianyi said. What a pity. He actually escaped. Master, may I ask if you came to Japan for the Killing Stone Seal? Yes, I was invited by your Japanese government. The Killing Stone Seal can no longer be repaired, and the Demon Fox in the Killing Stone is bound to escape. Zhang Tianyi nodded. It is said that when the four monster generals appear, it is the time when Tamamo no Mei escapes. Zhang Tianyi's heart moved and asked, "What are the other three monster generals?" Tamamo no Mei's four generals are the white-faced ghost vision, the green-faced divine master, the red-faced ghost king, and the black-faced ghost demon. Sakurako didn't hide anything and told Zhang Tianyi everything she knew. The white-faced ghost vision's original body is the demon blade, and it has already appeared. The green-faced divine master is a fallen onmyoji who was seduced by Tamamo no Mei. His current whereabouts are unknown. The red-faced ghost king is an evil spirit summoned to the human world in ancient times. He eats countless people and was sealed in Kobe by the grand onmyoji Abe no Saimai. The exact location is unknown. The black-faced ghost demon is said to be a monster born from evil in the human world. Every time it appears, there will be dark clouds, as if it is the end of the world. Zhang Tianyi wondered if he could stop the four monsters from appearing. Could he stop Tamamo no Mei from breaking the seal? The possibility was low, but there was no harm in trying. Now, the demon blade white-faced ghost vision was in his hands. Perhaps he could get some information and clues about the other three monsters from him. Zhang Tianyi glanced at Izuo Murata. His arm had been cut open. Although the bleeding had stopped, he was still weak. "I made this pill myself. I don't know how effective it is, but try it. It shouldn't kill you. Hurry and take your arm to the hospital. There might still be hope. I'm leaving." Chapter 17:10. The trip to Akihabara was interrupted, but it didn't affect everyone's mood. Gaia was in charge of picking up the people who had arrived today. West, Rouen, Pennsylvania, an elite, Henry, and the other outer members were on the 6 p.m. flight. Actually, Chun Zhao did regret bringing his family this time, because the current Tokyo was really full of danger. The situation was much more serious than Chun Zhao had imagined. Chun Zhao had thought that the incident would happen in the Aokigahara forest under Mount Fuji. It was more than 100 kilometers away from Tokyo. It shouldn't affect Tokyo, but it turned out that Chun Zhao had underestimated the impact. It was different from the big incident in China 20 years ago. 20 years ago, the myriad demon kings sealed demonic aura leaked out. The location was more than 1,000 kilometers away from a densely populated area. At that time, there was enough space for spiritualists to rush over. But this time, the incident happened less than 200 kilometers away from Tokyo. Most of the places within this distance were densely populated areas. It was mainly because Japan was too small and had a large population. At night, there was another party to welcome West and the others. Portia realized that many of the people who came today looked like street thugs. That was indeed the case. The outer members had all been forced by Chun Zhao to do odd jobs in the headquarters. Of course, they'd all turn over a new leaf now. After all, the association paid them well. Most of the time, it gave them personal space and time. Even gangsters might not earn as much as they did now. In fact, most gangsters were in a precarious situation. Apart from the big shots, not many could get rich from gangsters. Moreover, the supernatural organization had a strict policy toward the outer members. Whoever dared to walk the same path would have their legs broken. For example, Morat had been a gangster back then. Then, Chun Zhao taught him a good lesson. A few gangsters ran up to Portia, asking for a number. Of course, Portia didn't give them any face. After eating something at the party, she planned to go back to her room to rest. Portia was very curious about Chun Zhao's employees. They seemed to be from all walks of life, but they didn't seem like gangsters. At least, she hadn't heard of any gangsters organizing group building and tours. When she reached her floor, Portia saw a few hotel employees in front of her room. The door to his room was open. Portia was instantly enraged and immediately ran over. Portia saw a monk in a black kasaya standing at the door. "What are you doing? Get out of my room, or I'll complain to your hotel." The expressions of the employees were not normal. At that moment, the monk came out of Portia's room. "Hello, Mississippi, what are you doing?" Portia asked with a dark expression. "There are monsters here. I'm here to exorcise them," the monk replied. "Do you think I'll listen to your nonsense?" Portia felt that her intelligence had been insulted. "What happened?" Gaia came up from behind. They barged into my room and told me that there's a monster here. That's utter nonsense. Portia felt even more confident when she saw her people arrive. Portia looked at these people, and her gaze fell on the monk. This monk must have just used a spell, as there were faint traces of magic on his body. Gaia's eyesight was not very good, but he could still sense the obvious traces. Portia, check to see if anything is missing. Oh, right. Portia immediately ran back to her room. Gaia followed. How is it? Did anything go missing? No, but I'm not very happy right now, Portia said. I'll let your boss handle this. I'm sure he'll take care of it, Gaia said. Okay. Portia could only agree. After Gaia left the room, she called Chun Zhao. Hey Chun, there seems to be a monster in the hotel. Gaia explained the situation. Okay, got it. As soon as Monk Mingji went downstairs, he heard a voice from behind. You're a monk from Dayu Temple? Monk Mingji turned around and looked at Donya Tianchi. You are? The room you exorcised is my friend's. Can you tell me about it? Chun Zhao had called Donya Tianchi over. In their team, other than Portia, Donya Tianchi was the only Japanese who could speak Japanese. Moreover, he was more familiar with the Japanese spiritual world. It would be best if he could help. You too? I'm a bladesmith. I used to work at the forge, Donya Tianchi said. If that's the case, it'll be easy. Monk Mingji relaxed. I was an employee of the hotel. Through the surveillance, I noticed something unusual. This hotel has some connections with me, so they invited me over to exorcise it. Did you find that thing? No, but you better be careful. I've seen the surveillance. That thing should be a lustful bride. Lustful brides were spider monsters. Their upper body was human, and their lower body was spider. Lustful brides loved to attack beautiful women, eat their internal organs, and store their skin. Lustful brides? Donya Tianchi frowned. He'd heard of such monsters before. They were very troublesome. Sir, do you need me to help you exorcise it? There's no need for that. My friends are all spiritualists. What a joke. Most of the people in the association were here, including Chun Zhao. If they were disturbed by a small, lustful bride, wouldn't they be shameless? Okay, be careful. I'm leaving. Monk Mingji shook his head, his face dejected. More and more trouble has been happening in Tokyo recently. To be honest, the more supernatural incidents there were, the more supernatural activities there were. But the people of the supernatural world didn't like this, because all the spiritualists in Japan knew what was going on. The seal on the stone of slaughter was about to be unlocked. The 1,000-year-old monster would appear in the world. That was why the demons and monsters were appearing more frequently. After sending Monk Mingji off, Donya Tianchi hurriedly reported the situation to Chun Zhao. It seemed troublesome. There was a monster hiding in the hotel. But it wasn't complicated. The entire hotel staff aside, the only people who needed protection were Fei Lai, little Jerlin, little Larissa, and Portia. Fei Lai, Jerlin, and Larissa were under Chun Zhao's watch. No matter what came, it was useless. Portia was followed by a few female members. Nothing big would happen. After Chun Zhao put down the phone, his small world expanded. He focused on finding the lustful bride. But to Chun Zhao's confusion, he couldn't sense the lustful bride at all. Chapter 17:11. Chun Zhao's small world was more than 500 meters in diameter and shaped like a sphere. It could cover the entire hotel in a small world with extra space. But Chun Zhao couldn't find a single small monster. Had the Luo bride already escaped the hotel? To be honest, Chun Zhao admired the Luo bride. After all, to any monster, this hotel was a dangerous place. After all, to any monster, this hotel was like a dragon's lair or a tiger's den. That was why Chun Zhao suspected that the Luo bride had discovered the problem in the hotel. That was why Chun Zhao suspected that bride Luo had discovered the problem in the hotel. Of course, there was another possibility. The Luo bride was already so awesome. This Luo bride was already so awesome. If that was really the case, Chun Zhao had nothing to say. Gaia, go drink with Portia. Get her drunk. Don't let her leave your sight. Gaia, go find Portia and get her drunk. Don't let her out of your sight. Knock, 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 come in. Gaia walked in with 2 cases of beer. Gaia, why are you here? I should be the one asking you. Why did you run back to your room before the party ended? I feel like most of the people who came today are hooligans, Portia said bluntly. After all, she'd grown up in New Orleans. She could feel the gangster aura from some people. It couldn't be covered up. Did they harass you? I'll teach them a lesson tomorrow, Gaius said. Since you can't stand them, let's drink. The two girls sat in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. They weren't friends, but they could talk in front of beer. Gaia, are you married? No, but I have a kid, Gaius said. Can you tell me about the boss? You mean Shun? Don't tell me you've fallen for him. Stop joking. Portia didn't have any feelings for Chun Zhao. She was just curious. Chun Zhao was rich, but he seemed to know people from all walks of life. Chun is a doctor. Doctor? How is that possible? How can he be a doctor? He had an operation in China and got into an accident. Then he came to America in L.A. Before I met him, I even beat him up. You probably don't know, but he's a medical professor at UCLA. Huh? You beat him up before? This was probably the most delightful thing Portia had heard in a while. Later, he wanted to take revenge on me, so he found a combat coach. And then he found me. You can never imagine how wonderful his expression was when he saw the combat coach. Huh, I'm dying of laughter. Portia laughed so hard that tears flowed down her cheeks. Then we became friends, Gaius said. He didn't look for you for revenge. After that, I couldn't beat him anymore, Gaius said frankly. How could that be? I think he's much smaller than you. The gap between me and him isn't something that can be made up for by size, Gaius said. Are you part of a gang? Portia asked cautiously. Gang? Why would you think that? Whether it's me or him, we both hate gangs very much. I can tell you very responsibly that we are not a gang. In fact, we are an operation department under the government, and he is the director of this department. What department is it? Isn't he rich? Why would he work for the government? But the President of the United States is also rich. Right now, the president who ruled the country through Twitter is in power. He is the most famous rich man in the world. Okay, but what kind of business does the boss do? I'm his personal assistant, but I don't know his business scope at all. He sells alcohol, Gaius said casually. But he is also involved in some movie industries. He has a movie industry? Not really, but he has friends in Hollywood. Recently, a movie he invested in is going to be released. By the way, I also play a role in it. I'm the antagonist, Gaius said. Portia was still a little curious at first. After hearing that Gaia had a role, she completely lost interest. It wasn't that she looked down on Gaia. She just didn't think that a movie Gaia was involved in would be produced by a Hollywood film company. It was most likely an independent movie from a third or fourth-tier film company. If it was a first-tier or second-tier Hollywood company, even the antagonist would rarely use an ordinary person. After all, the antagonist was also an important character. Even if they didn't use a celebrity, they would at least use an actor who had played a few roles and had a certain level of acting skills. Unless it was a super small movie. A small movie that couldn't be squeezed out of the budget. Although Portia hadn't been in the movie industry before, as a professional who was determined to become a big star, Portia still knew some of the rules of Hollywood. It seemed that the movie her boss was talking about was the kind that could only be released in small theaters. In America, there were mainstream movie theaters, independent movie theaters, and small movie theaters. The difference between mainstream and independent movie theaters wasn't too obvious. Generally, independent movie theaters mainly supported independent movies, which were artistic films. However, artistic films would occasionally be released in big theaters, mainly during award season. As for the small theaters, most of them were shoddy or pirated films. At this time, Portia was a little drunk. The floor was full of empty cans and bottles. Gaia was still full of energy. Can beer be drunk to intoxicate people? What a joke. Gaia wouldn't even sway if he had 10 times the amount of beer. By the way, Gaia, when will your movie be released? I'll definitely support it when I have time, Portia said. In her heart, Gaia's movie was probably a pirated film. October 1st, that's... Just then, a knock on the door interrupted Gaia's words. Burp. I'll go open the door. No need, I'll go. You're drunk. Gaia shook her head. Strange. Why did she feel a little dizzy? Gaia walked to the door and found a waitress standing there. What do you want? Gaia asked. The waitress tilted her head and looked at Gaia, mumbling, "You didn't faint?" Suddenly, a spider leg extended from the back of the waiter, its sharp tips stabbing towards Gaia. Although Gaia was a little dizzy, she still reacted and quickly dodged the attack. However, her body's reaction was still half a beat slower, and the sharp foot still stabbed into Gaia's shoulder. Shocked and angry, Gaia raised her leg and kicked out. Bang! With a loud noise, the waitress was sent flying into the opposite wall. Portia waddled over and asked what happened. Chapter 17:12. Portia saw a figure in a waiter's uniform run away quickly. Then, she saw Gaia covered in blood. Gaia's body was pressed against the wall. "Ah, Gaia, what's wrong?" Portia staggered 2 steps forward but fell to the ground again. Gritting her teeth, Gaia took out her phone. "Chun, something happened, I know." Chun Zhao could already feel it through the small world. "Raz, Faxi, go to Portia's room," Chun Zhao said. "Gaia's injured. She seems to have been poisoned." Ruan Faxi was an alchemist. He had some antidotes. More Raz was a healer. He could handle Gaia's injuries. Chun Zhao paused. "Zhao and Ash, you go too," he said. Ruan Faxi and More Raz didn't have much combat power, so it would be troublesome if the monster returned. More Klaus," Chun Zhao said. "You guys go after the monster now." He had already locked on a bride Luo's location. No wonder he couldn't sense her earlier. It was because she was hiding in a waiter's skin. She looked like a normal person. Plus, the skin blocked Chun Zhao's senses. That was why he was fooled. But now, Chun Zhao knew the reason. There were no other problems. Everyone split up, while Chun Zhao stayed at the party. "Chun, aren't you going to do it?" "It's too irresponsible of you to leave everything to others," Fei Lai criticized in a joking tone. She knew that Chun Zhao didn't do anything to protect her and the 2 kids. Of course, it was also because Bride Luo wasn't strong. At least the people from the association were strong enough. But Fei Lai was wrong about one thing. Chun Zhao didn't do nothing. In fact, the dark lava was seeping downwards. Some places that normal people couldn't see were already permeated by it. If there were any changes in the situation, dark magma would attack or protect its subordinates. At the same time, Chun Zhao knocked out the people in the surveillance room and turned off all the surveillance in the hotel. The monster is hiding in the cleaner's tool room now. Chun Zhao controlled the phone remotely. She's hiding in a waiter's skin. West walked over. "President, do you need me to help?" "No, it's just a monster," Chun Zhao said calmly. "You guys just arrived today. Have fun." At this moment, a figure descended from the sky and landed on the rooftop. Everyone was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but reveal vigilant expressions. Chun Zhao looked over. Why was Zhang Tianyi here? "Hello, Mr. Zhang. Why are you here?" Zhang Tianyi took a deep breath. "There seems to be a little monster hiding in the hotel. Do you know about it?" "Yeah, I just found out," Chun Zhao said. "I even suffered a bit. My people are capturing that little monster now." Chun Zhao didn't expect Zhang Tianyi to be so perceptive. "Mr. Zhang, how did you know?" "You can tell just by taking a breath." "Demonic aura. I can smell demonic aura, even if it's very faint." Zhang Tianyi said matter-of-factly. "That's right. You're not a Taoist, and you've never come into contact with monsters abroad. It's understandable that you're not familiar with Taoist techniques. Most people in the spiritual world in our country aren't bad at this." Zhang Tianyi paused. Then he said, "Oh, I'm looking for you because of that demonic blade. You need it?" "Not me. This demonic blade is called White Mask. It's one of the 4 monster generals under Temamo No Mei's command." Zhang Tianyi briefly explained the purpose of his trip. "I just want to see if I can find some information about the other 3 monster generals from White Mask." Chun Zhao shook his head. "I can't help it. White Mask's demonic aura can't enter my body at all, much less control me. But because of this, I can't sense its consciousness." "Okay, looks like my idea won't work." Zhang Tianyi shook his head helplessly. He wasn't surprised by Chun Zhao's answer. With Chun Zhao's cultivation, if a mere demonic blade could invade his consciousness, that would be the biggest problem. "I heard that if you can completely control the blade, your power will increase greatly." "Did you increase it?" "No, it's just scrap metal to me. But if I pick up the blade, I'll become a warrior. Increase Chun Zhao's current power? Stop joking. Chun Zhao didn't feel anything at all. Plus, he still had many abilities that he hadn't used yet. If it was compared to the black trident that was magically modified by Old Turtle, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it would weaken Chun Zhao's power. By then, Bride Luo had already met up with the people who had surrounded her. Klaus shot at Bride Luo directly. The skin of the bride was immediately riddled with holes. Bride Luo also crawled out of her skin completely. She was about to counterattack, but Klaus easily dodged her attack. Immerse and Morid also took action. Klaus, there's an attendant on the same floor as you. He's a regular person. Don't be too loud, in case he sees you. Try to be quiet, Chun Zhao instructed through his phone. Zhang Tianyi's small world wasn't as big as Chun Zhao's, but it was still 100 meters wide. He could also sense the two sides in the battle. Your subordinates are all talents. Their battle awareness is so strong. I really don't know how you train them. That Klaus guy doesn't have any magical power. How'd he do it? He actually trained his body to this level. Do you have some secret technique? Ha! Just a little trick. Chun Zhao chuckled. Zhang Tianyi didn't plan on getting to the bottom of it, but he was still quite interested in this battle. It's a pity that Norma isn't here, Wes said. Otherwise, the battle would have ended silently. Indeed, Norma had work to do, so she would only come tomorrow. Of course, Klaus, Moore, and Morid were already enough to deal with Bride Luo. Bride Luo was completely suppressed by the three of them. Chun Zhao saw that it was about time. Dark magma suddenly spewed out from the pipe beside him and bound Bride Luo. Huh? What's this? Zhang Tianyi looked at Chun Zhao in surprise. It had to be said that if this liquid and solid substance could be wielded with ease, it would be extremely effective in battle. Morid, and Klaus avoided the attendant and dragged Bride Luo to the rooftop for Chun Zhao to deal with. Chapter 17:13. In the morning, Portia shot up from the bed. She still hadn't recovered from her hangover. However, she vaguely remembered that something had happened last night. Gaia seemed to have been stabbed. Portia hurriedly got up. She didn't even wash up or change out of her pajamas. She ran to Gaia's room and banged on the door. The door opened. Gaia's tall figure stood before Portia. Gaia, were you hurt last night? What? Portia, have you been drinking too much? Portia looked at Gaia in confusion. Gaia, indeed, didn't seem to be hurt. Right now, her mind was also a mess. She wasn't sure if the things in her mind were real. Was it really just her imagination? Portia, shouldn't you go change? Portia just remembered that she was still in her pajamas. Recently, Tokyo was really in chaos. Evil was everywhere. Of course, large numbers of spiritualists gathered from all over. Not just Japan, but all the spiritualists from all over the world had come. Coupled with the suppression of the government, there were no incidents that were too sensational. But last night, Kobe City Hospital suddenly collapsed. A 10-story building, thousands of patients and medical staff were all buried in the rubble. This news shook all of Japan, even the whole world. Some people said that they saw a huge ghost destroy the hospital. Others said that the old site of the hospital had once been a huge execution ground. Anyway, rumors were everywhere. Even the rumor that Japan was going to sink was very popular. However, such rumors would appear every once in a while. To Chun Zhao and the members of the association, it was time to eat and play. It was as if it had nothing to do with them. Portia had been shopping for the past 3 days. Her legs seemed to be cramping. Feilai also planned to stay in the hotel for a day to rest. Gaia couldn't move around much today, so he didn't go out either. The members of the association also went out to play one after another. Genkura followed Higashino Tianshi to the forge. Chun Zhao went out to drink with a few association members. Shibuya was a place that all men in the world dreamed of going to. Because the alcohol here was really good. Yes, that was it. Chun Zhao, Klaus, and Henry were drinking in an izakaya with Japanese characteristics. When they came out, Henry and Klaus were a little drunk. At night, Shibuya was brighter and brighter, and there was a rancid smell everywhere. I think I saw a friend. I'll go greet him and go home by myself tonight, Henry said shyly. Go, Klaus. Are you coming? Chen Zhao asked, unconcerned. Chen Zhao knew where Henry wanted to go. Along the way, Henry's eyes had been wandering around the signs in the alleys. Although he couldn't understand the Japanese words on the sign, the neon color that was commonly used all over the world, as well as the logo on it, were easy to recognize. Chen Zhao was his superior, but it was not his place to meddle in other people's private affairs. I won't be going. I recently got a girlfriend. Klaus was quite serious in this aspect. Ordinary people, yes, he's an elementary school teacher. Klaus nodded. Then you should get along well. A cool breeze blew past the street, and then a person in front of him suddenly fell to the ground, clutching his neck. Then a riot broke out in the streets. Chen Zhao raised an eyebrow. Klaus was a bit tipsy, but he sobered up instantly. He turned to look at Chen Zhao. President, are they monsters? Yes, 2 big rats, Chen Zhao said. In the wind, there were 2 rats that looked very big. The 2 rats moved with the wind. One used its sharp claws to rip open the victim's neck. The other used its mouth to take away the victim's money. This made Chen Zhao curious. The 2 rats were clearly monsters. It wasn't hard to understand why monsters killed people. But not only did they kill people, but they also stole money. Why did they steal money? The 2 rats reminded Chen Zhao of a famous Japanese monster, Itachi Kamikaze. It was a monster that moved with the wind. It looked like a rat, but it was invisible. But in Japanese legends, Itachi Kamikaze had 3 brothers. One tricked people, one tore open people's wounds, and one applied plaster to the victim. However, there were only 2 in the wind just now. They clearly didn't match the legends. Let's go over there and take a look. Yes. Klaus put on his special glasses. The glasses allowed him to see things he couldn't normally see. At first, Jolig had made them. Then, after Ruan Faxben came, he'd remade them. Now, the glasses were more portable and had more powerful functions. Other than seeing souls, they could also see other things. But Klaus still couldn't keep up. Chen Zhao suddenly grabbed Klaus and lifted him into the air. This was the first time Klaus flew into the sky without modern technology. Of course, Klaus quickly adjusted his state of mind. The 2 mice went into a remote factory. There were a few dead people in the factory, as well as a man wearing a black robe and a tall hat. The man's attire looked like the clothes of an ancient onmyoji, hunting clothes. A few green will-o'-the-wisps floated around him. Kamikaze, Song, you're back. How's today's harvest? The 2 monsters called Kamikaze and Song landed before the man. Then Song threw all the money he'd stolen before the man. Nice job. I'm rich now. I don't have to stay in a place like this anymore. Song Yuan Wang, we've already helped you kill 99 people. In order to steal the blood-stained money, we've fulfilled your request. Return our brother's medicine to us. The onmyoji named Song Yuan Wang looked at Kamikaze and Song with an evil smile. Do you think this is enough? Song Yuan Wang looked down at Kamikaze and Song. Do you want to go back on your word? Both Kamikaze and Song flashed their sharp claws. Don't, please don't. If you kill me, you'll never see your brother's medicine again. Song Yuan Wang tried his best to look panicked, but he was actually smiling. He was clearly teasing Kamikaze and Song. Kamikaze and Song had been hesitating. They'd had enough of Song Yuan Wang's teasing, but they couldn't be at ease without seeing their brother's medicine. We can't be controlled by him anymore. Kill him, and we'll find the medicine. Kamikaze was the most murderous. He finally decided to kill Song Yuan Wang. After some hesitation, Song finally agreed to Kamikaze's idea. What a disobedient little mouse. Song Yuan Wang's lips curled up slightly in disdain. Obviously, he didn't think much of the 2 rats. Chapter 1714. Chen Zhao and Klaus hid in the dark to watch the show. Chen Zhao took out his phone and typed Song Yuan Wang in the search bar. The person who jumped out was a Dao venerate of the central government during the Hengwu Heavenly Emperor Huang dynasty. He was a 3rd-rank imperial astronomer of the Japanese imperial court. Later on, he was imprisoned by the Heavenly Emperor due to rumors that a disaster was about to befall the Pingan capital. Rumor has it that he committed suicide in prison. In other words, if this guy was Song Yi Yuan Wang from the Heian era, then he had lived for at least 1,100 years. Song Yi and Yuan Huang were facing off against Lin and Song. A battle could break out at any time. Suddenly, Song Yi Yuan Wang shouted, "Scoundrel, come out." Just as Klaus was about to stand up, Chun Zhao pushed him back down. He shook his head at Klaus. At this moment, two people jumped out from the opposite roof. Chiyo Kaori and Sakurako Kurosaki appeared. Song Yi Yuan Huang whistled. "If I knew that two beautiful ladies would come tonight, I would definitely clean this place up." The ghost fire around Song Yi Yuan Huang whistled and landed on the surrounded corpses. The corpses suddenly burst into green flames. "You are the green-faced divine master." Sakurako was also wrapped up tightly this time. He wore a ghost mask and carried 4 short swords on his back. Song Yi Jinwang frowned and said unhappily, "Is it about Tamamo no Me again? How annoying. I have nothing to do with him anymore. You don't have to look for me. Besides, I haven't used the title Green-Faced Divine Master for 1,000 years. Tamamo no Me's lackey. Do you think you can get away with this kind of sweet talk?" Chiyo Kaori said disdainfully. Song Yi Jinhuang narrowed his eyes at Chiyo Kaori and said in a sinister tone, "Brat, do you know how powerful a Onmyoji can become in 1,000 years? Traitor of the Yin Yang Dao, no matter how strong you are, you will never be able to escape from the restraints of Yin Yang. Idiots who are obsessed with Taoism." Suddenly, Lin and Song attacked Song Yi Yuan Wang at the same time. The two demons transformed into a gust of wind, and a tearing sound could be heard in the air. "Little rat." Song Yi Yuan Wang spread his sleeves, which suddenly expanded. It was like the legendary heaven and earth in the sleeve, constantly sucking in the wind. In the blink of an eye, the gale had calmed down, and Song and Sickle both fell out from the calm gale. All of their abilities were closely related to the wind. They could create strong winds, and they could also control strong winds. However, if they lost the gale, all of their abilities would become meaningless. At this moment, Chiyo Kaori also attacked. 2 giant ghosts appeared behind Chiyo Kaori, Green Ghost and Crimson Ghost. Green Ghost wielded a mace, while Crimson Ghost wielded a demon-headed blade in each hand. Qin Gue and Qi Gue attacked Song Yi Yuan Wang at the same time. Song Yi Yuan Wang's sleeves were aimed at Green Ghost and Crimson Ghost. The gale that he had sucked in earlier was released directly at the 2 ghosts. Crash! The 2 gigantic ghosts were blown away. "Heaven and earth, light of Tao." Sakurako muttered an incantation. "Gods of the 4 directions, grant me a body, come." So the little friend from the Yu Gue CF family. Song Yi Jin Wang looked at Sakurako and didn't interrupt her spell casting. Instead, he stood on the side and commented, "Gods of the 4 directions? He's just a partial god. Even if you invite his true body here, he might not be able to defeat me." In Japanese mythology, the gods of the 4 directions were actually similar to China's city god, earth god, or mountain god. They were gods that were born in a certain region. Although they were called gods, they were actually no different from demons. They had divinity, but they weren't as powerful as gods. Even some demons could bully them. Don't forget, this is Tokyo. Sakurako's eyes suddenly emitted a red light, and her aura surged. Japan had moved its capital several times, but Tokyo only became the capital in recent times. Before Tokyo became the capital, China hired a feng shui master to search for dragons and break veins. They set up the 4 symbols formation to guard the fate of the country. The 4 symbols formation was the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise. Therefore, the gods of the 4 directions in Tokyo weren't ordinary earth gods or mountain gods, but 4 divine beasts. Each of the 4 divine beasts had boundless divine abilities, and they were countless times stronger than the gods of the 4 directions in other places. Sakurako was surrounded by divine fire. She spread her arms, and endless divine fire spread toward Song Yi Yuan Wang. Red Lotus. Within the divine flame, one beautiful red lotus after another blossomed. Song Yi Yuan Huang cursed inwardly and tapped his foot on the ground. Yellow springs compared to Nara. A black spring appeared on the ground. The black spring spewed out black water pillars, directly extinguishing the divine fire. The beautiful red lotuses also withered. Suddenly, a charming laughter came from the factory. The laughter was filled with ethereal beauty. Even if one only heard the voice and couldn't see the person, they would still feel an indescribable charm. Red flowers bloomed from the black spring, gradually covering the entire factory. Even the walls and ceiling of the factory were covered by the red flowers. A naked woman with only a few red muslin wrapped around her was lazily lying on her side in the sea of red flowers. Whether it was Kama, Sora, Kwagi Sakurako, or Chiyo Kaori, their eyes were filled with confusion. The flower of the other shore blooms, the yellow springs, nirvana. In the Buddhist scriptures, nirvana referred to the endless hell, never to be reincarnated. The spider lily was also the flower of hell in Buddhism. There was no shore on the other side, and the yellow springs bloomed. Even Klaus, who was hiding in the dark, was affected. Slap! Chun Zhao slapped Klaus's face. Ah! Klaus woke up instantly. Any more rats? Song Yuan Wang looked at where Chun Zhao and Klaus were hiding. Chun Zhao took out the demon knife, white-faced ghost, and instantly turned into a sword-wielding warrior. Then, Chun Zhao walked out in a dignified manner. White-faced ghost. Song Yinhuang's body shook, and his pupils constricted. As his emotions fluctuated, the yellow springs nirvana disintegrated. Sakurako and Chiyo Kaori's expressions changed drastically. Song Yuan Huang wasn't someone they could deal with anymore. Now, there was another white-faced ghost. They just suffered from the white-faced ghost yesterday. They didn't expect him to appear again. The situation this time was clearly more dangerous than yesterday. Yesterday, Zhang Tianyi had saved them. But this time, they weren't so lucky. However, Song Yuanwang's expression was even worse than theirs. In his opinion, white-faced Gue Che's appearance here was undoubtedly to deal with him. Also, since the white-faced ghost was here, would the red-faced Ghost King and the black-faced Rakshasa be far away? As one of the four generals under Tamamo no Mei, Song Yuanwang didn't dare to say that he would definitely win against any of them. Moreover, if the other two came too, he really wouldn't be able to escape. Chapter 17:15. A sudden voice sounded. I didn't think I'd meet two old friends. What a delightful charge. A cloud of black smoke charged into the scene and turned into a man wearing a black crown. Black-faced Rakshasa. Rakshasa, do you know that white-faced ghost is here too? Another voice sounded. The voice came from above the factory. Everyone couldn't help but look up. Suddenly, the roof of the factory was lifted and a huge red ghost king poked its head in. Chiyo Kaori swallowed. Behind her, Green Demon and Red Demon were also terrified. Compared to humans, Green Ghost and Crimson Ghost were already very large. But compared to the Red Ghost King, it was still many times weaker. Without a doubt, this Red Ghost King was one of the four generals under Tamamo no Mei, the Red-Faced Ghost King. The current situation was that the four great demon generals had gathered and had all appeared. Ha! I didn't think the four of us would reunite under these circumstances. I believe our master will break the seals soon and return to the human world. Song Jinwang laughed out loud. Earlier, he wanted to escape Tamamo no Mei's control. But the situation was beyond his control. He didn't think he could fight three monsters of the same level at the same time. So, he changed his tone decisively. Both the black-faced Ghost King and the red-faced Ghost King knew what Song Jinwang was thinking. Plus, as colleagues, they knew how shameless Song Jinwang was. Song Jinwang represented the worst side of humans. Despicable, sinister, and without any standpoint. When he'd been imprisoned, it was their master, Tamamo no Mei, who'd given him a chance to be reborn. He'd also become one of his master's servants. But after his master was sealed, he'd completely broken away from the four generals. Plus, he'd never thought about saving his master. Every few decades, he'd always heard about his misdeeds. Now that the four generals had gathered, Song Jinwang immediately changed his attitude. He'd become his master's loyal servant again. Only Chun Zhao, the fake general, stood there without saying a word. Chun Zhao was curious about what would happen if he killed all three of them. Could he stop Tamamo, no, Mei from reappearing? Suddenly, a cold glint shot out of Chun Zhao's eyes. The three great demon generals were alarmed. What's this guy doing? Each of the four of them had a strange temperament. However, the most reclusive one would have to be White-Face Guiche. He never spoke, only killed. While they were still in shock, Chun Zhao had already made his move. An extremely fast saber light cut through the air. Song Yi Yuan Huang looked at his arm and chest sliding down. This? Song Yi Yuan Huang stared at his body in disbelief. But in the next instant, Song Yi Yuan Huang's body suddenly transformed into a human-shaped piece of paper that had been cut open. Song Yi Yuan Huang walked out unscathed. Damn it, this guy is crazy. He wants to kill me. Song Yi Yuan Huang roared furiously. Did you all see that? This guy wants to kill me. White-Face Ghost, stop messing around. The black-faced Rakshasa shouted. Just then, Chun Zhao charged at the black-faced demon. Damn it! The black-faced Rakshasa retreated hastily. But no matter how fast he was, he could not be faster than Chun Zhao. Although Chun Zhao was holding the demon knife, he didn't know any of White-Face Ghost's moves. It was just a show, but that didn't mean he didn't know how to fight. Even if he had never fought with a katana. But who didn't know how to cut people with a sword? Chun Zhao slashed across the black-faced Raksasa's body. The black-faced Rakshasa hurriedly turned into a cloud of black smoke and floated away. Of course, even that didn't mean he was completely unharmed. Chun Zhao didn't like to fight against opponents who could turn into mist, but it didn't mean he couldn't do anything. In fact, the demon knife was effective against enemies who could turn into mist. Even without using immortal power, Chun Zhao could hurt the black-faced Rakshasa with the demon knife. Song Wama, Chiyo Kaori, and Sakurako were all dumbfounded. What was going on? Why did White-Face Ghost turn against him? The black-faced Rakshasa gathered at another location. However, there was a ghastly scar on his chest. Damn it, White-Face Ghost, if you don't explain yourself, I won't go easy on you. The black-faced Rakshasa roared. Chun Zhao didn't say anything. If he did, he would be exposed. Just then, a giant hand descended from the sky, grabbing at Chun Zhao. The red-faced Ghost King attacked. He was more direct than the others. Hiss! Chun Zhao didn't plan to hold back. Anyway, Chun Zhao had made up his mind. He would leave all four of them. No, three of them. Roar! The red-faced Ghost King's arm was cut off. Blood splattered everywhere like rain. The Ghost King's blood was like gasoline, burning the moment it landed on the ground. Chun Zhao's body started burning too, but Chun Zhao didn't move, even if his body was on fire. Kill him. Kill him. He betrayed us. He betrayed Master. Chun Zhao didn't plan to stop. He charged up along the red-faced Ghost King's arm. He raised the knife, and the red-faced Ghost King suddenly stopped roaring. His movement stopped too, as if he was frozen in a movie. The scene became silent. Everyone looked at the red-faced Ghost King and Chun Zhao, who was on his shoulder, in shock. Slowly, the red-faced Ghost King's neck and head separated. Chun Zhao might not be able to deal with Song Yi Yuan Huang and the black-faced Ghost King, but the red-faced Ghost King was the best opponent for Chun Zhao. The red-faced Ghost King's huge body fell down, collapsing a wall of the factory. Song Yi Yuan Huang and the black-faced Ghost King stared at Chun Zhao in shock. Aoi, Chiyo Kaori, and Sakurako were all in disbelief. The four demon generals had killed each other. And the powerful red-faced Ghost King had been instantly killed by the white-faced ghost. Song Yi Yuan Huang and the black-faced Ghost King felt chills down their spines. What was going on? The four generals should be equal in strength. How could the white-faced Ghost King kill the red-faced Ghost King so easily? No, something's wrong. Song Yi's face was pale. He was different from the other three generals. He wasn't a pure demon. He was a half-human, half-demon transformed by Tamamo no Mei. Therefore, he still retained the habits of humans, and also retained some of the bad traits of humans. His way of thinking was more like a human's. He vaguely realized that there was something wrong with the white-faced Ghost King. But as for what exactly was wrong, he couldn't tell. The one in front of him was indeed the white-faced Ghost King. There was no fake. But where did this strange feeling come from? He looked at Chen Zhao. The moment he met Chen Zhao's gaze, he finally understood. The gaze wasn't cold as a knife. It was mockery, disdain, and murderous intent. Chapter 17:16. The white-faced Oni wouldn't have such a look, because the white-faced Oni was the last of the 4 generals. It wasn't that he was the weakest, but that he was the last to appear. It was a demon blade made by Tamamo no Mei herself with the help of the other 3 generals. He was also one of the participants. He understood the white-faced Oni. At least he thought so. The white-faced Oni was the most loyal to Tamamo no Mei. He was an emotionless weapon. Any body controlled by the white-faced Oni would also be emotionless. However, Sangyi Yuan Huang saw the emotions in white mask Gui Che's eyes when he came into contact with it. At this moment, Sangyi panicked. He thought of a possibility. A person who could pick up the demon blade wasn't enslaved by the white-faced Oni. This meant that this person was more powerful than the white-faced Oni. He was stronger than any of them. Wait, the white-faced Oni. I'm on your side. I'll kill the black-faced Rakshasa with you. That way, we can completely break free from Tamamo no Mei's control. What do you think? Sangyi Yuan Huang had once again displayed his most shameless side. Chen Zhao looked at Sangyi. He didn't waste any words. Sangyi's face darkened when he saw the blade coming. He used the Paperman's substitutes again. The Paperman's substitutes were very useful. They could avoid a fatal attack, but they couldn't be used limitlessly, not to mention the complicated production process and high price. Using the Paperman's substitutes required a large amount of mana and also the pain of each fatal attack. Chen Zhao was prepared for this. The moment Sangyi used the Paperman's substitutes, Chen Zhao locked on its Sangyi's real body. Chen Zhao swept up a gust of wind. The blade cut through the air like a dragon's roar. But just as Chen Zhao was about to hit Sangyi, suddenly, a figure appeared before Chen Zhao. Duong. The figure smashed heavily toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao blocked it with his sword. Then, he flicked it upward. His arm was sent flying. Sangyi's Shikigami appeared in front of him. It was an 8-armed King Kong, made entirely out of metal. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Even Chen Zhao's eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. Is this a joke? What is this? Spirit-branded retainer or Gundam? Apart from the arm that was chopped off by Chen Zhao, the other 7 arms of the King Kong were all holding Gatling guns, and its body was covered in bullets. Moreover, the machine guns in its hands were obviously specially made. Each gun had a very large caliber. Black-faced Rakshasa, this guy clearly wants to kill us all. If you still hesitate, we'll all die here today. When that happens, you won't even have the chance to serve Tamamo no Mei, Sangyi Jin Wang said. The black-faced Rakshasa also felt that the situation was getting out of control. He was not as cunning as Sangyi Yuan Wang. Even now, he still did not understand why Fiendish Blade, white-faced Ghost would betray him. However, it was just as Sangyi Yuan Wang had said. If he continued to watch the show, Sangyi Yuan Wang would be killed. It would be his turn. Although he hated Sangyi Yuan Wang, he hated her so much that he didn't even try to hide it. But he also knew that he was stronger than others. The black-faced Rakshasa's body floated up, his arms spread wide. At this time, the moon and the stars were completely covered. Most of Tokyo was shrouded in dark clouds. At the center of the dark clouds was the black-faced Rakshasa. He sucked in big mouthfuls of dark clouds. The dark clouds were actually the negative emotions of the people in the area. Right now, the black-faced Rakshasa was absorbing the negative emotions of millions of people. Chen Zhao narrowed his eyes. This black-faced Rakshasa should be half a step into the Shanqing state. Among the 4 generals of Tamamo no Mei, this guy should be the strongest. With every negative emotion he absorbed, the black-faced Rakshasa's power increased. Chiyo Kuru and Sakurako felt as if a heavy stone was pressing down on their hearts. This battle was no longer something they could participate in. Chen Zhao looked at the black-faced Rakshasa, then at Song Yuanwang. Killed Song Yuanwang first. One had to admit that Song Yuanwang's Shikigami was an eye-opener for Chen Zhao. The eight-armed King Kong, which was a mixture of science and magic, was indeed refreshing. However, that was all. The blade in Chen Zhao's hand flashed. Ta, ta, ta. 7 Gatling guns fired wildly at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao neither dodged nor evaded. He swung his blade from bottom to top. When the blade slashed across the ground, sparks flew and a ghastly scar was left on the ground. However, the blade wasn't obstructed. Instead, it carried an even fiercer and colder killing intent. Hiss! The 8-armed King Kong's arm, gun, and body were instantly cut off. Oh no! Song Yuanwang was shocked. He didn't expect his Shikigami to be so useless before Chen Zhao. He'd thought that even if Chen Zhao faced an enemy much stronger than him, the 8 Gatling guns would still be a huge problem. 8 Gatling guns could also bring great trouble to the enemy, and it was not impossible for them to kill enemies that were stronger than themselves. Moreover, the 8-armed King Kong's body was made of titanium alloy. It was almost indestructible. Alas, dreams were beautiful, but reality was cruel. Before Chen Zhao, the 8-armed King Kong couldn't unleash its combat power. Chen Zhao didn't stop. He continued slashing at Song Yuanwang. Substitute. Seeing that Chen Zhao wasn't far away, Song Yuanwang could only activate the Paperman substitute again. But this time, Chen Zhao exploded with even greater speed. He was more than 10 times faster than before. Before Song Yuanwang could activate the Paperman substitute, Chen Zhao had already slashed his neck. The demon blade in Chen Zhao's hand brushed through the air at high speed. It was already red like a soldering iron. Song Yuanwang stopped moving. Her face was filled with shock and disbelief. You? Who exactly are? Chen Zhao grabbed Song Yuanwang's head and lifted it up gently. Song Yuanwang didn't die right away. After all, he was a half-human, half-demon on Myoji that had lived for 1,000 years. Most of his abilities were in staying alive. Guess. Chen Zhao didn't plan to tell Song Yuanwang his identity. He planned to keep pretending to be the white-faced ghost. Chen Zhao looked at the last general, the Black Rakshasa. To be honest, the white-faced ghost probably couldn't defeat the Black Rakshasa. The Black Rakshasa had also absorbed enough negative emotions by now. His eyes were as deep as a black hole. He floated in the air and looked down at Chen Zhao. I didn't think I could absorb so many negative emotions here. It feels so good. Chen Zhao stared at the Rakshasa. His lips curled into a smile. Enjoy your last pleasure while there's still time. Chapter 17:17. What? The Rakshasa was stunned. Demon Blade, white-faced ghost wouldn't say something like that. But just as he was distracted, like an arrow, Chen Zhao shot toward the black-faced Rakshasa. The Rakshasa was fully prepared. However, there was one thing that he had forgotten. Because Chen Zhao wasn't slashing him with a knife. Instead, Chen Zhao gave him a bear hug and pushed him to the ground. Chen Zhao's power wasn't something he could fight against, even if he'd absorbed half the city's negative emotions. Chen Zhao pressed the Rakshasa to the ground. He raised the demon blade and stabbed it into the Rakshasa's chest. The Rakshasa wanted to turn into black mist, but every time he did, Chen Zhao would use his celestial power to disperse the Dharma power in his body. The Rakshasa started to panic. He punched Chen Zhao crazily. He wanted to push Chen Zhao away, but his fists were no different from a drizzle to Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao's current appearance and smile were like mockery to the Rakshasa. The Rakshasa's aura grew weaker and weaker. I won't die. As long as humans exist. One day I will, none of my business. Chen Zhao sneered. He didn't plan on meddling in other people's business forever. The Rakshasa had become weaker, but he still hadn't given up hope. He continued to struggle. But every time he punched Chen Zhao punched him back. He would always be at a disadvantage. Chen Zhao nailed the Rakshasa to the ground with the demon blade. Every time Chen Zhao punched him, the Rakshasa's demonic aura would disperse a bit. Chen Zhao didn't kill him with one punch. because he was afraid he'd turn into mist and escape. Chun Zhao had dealt with enemies who could turn into mist before. He couldn't be too impatient against such enemies. He needed to disperse their power bit by bit, keep weakening them until they didn't even have the power to turn into mist. The ground within dozens of meters was full of cracks from Chun Zhao's punches. He couldn't do it with just the power of the demon blade. He couldn't even defeat the Rakshasa. Boom, boom, boom. Chiyo, Kaori, and Sakurako looked at the continuous explosions 100 meters away, but was completely covered in smoke and dust. They couldn't see what was going on inside. The two of them thought about it and decided to leave. If he didn't run now, he would have to wait for the two demon generals to decide the victor. By then, it would be too late for them to escape. They wouldn't continue to think that they could deal with any one of them. Whether it was the white-faced ghost or the black-faced Rakshasa, they were beyond their imagination. If they were to get close to the center of the battle, just the aftermath of the battle would be enough to make them wish they were dead. So, they ran away with their tails between their legs. The rumbling continued for 20 minutes. Only then did Chun Zhao walk out of the dust. Although he had not used his full strength in the battle with the black-faced Rakshasa, he had already won. But Chun Zhao's face was still covered in dirt. "Klaus, you can come out." Klaus stepped out of the shadows. "President, where's that demon?" "I killed him," Chun Zhao said. To be honest, Japan was an active region in the supernatural world. The strength of the supernatural demons here was also beyond his expectations. For example, the black-faced Rakshsa's strength was almost on par with the snow fiend Kunkka of the Great Snow Mountains of North America. The black-faced Rakshasa was slightly weaker than Kunkka, but the difference wasn't huge. The black-faced Rakshasa needed densely populated areas, while Kunkka needed to be in areas covered in ice and snow. Their strength was greatly limited. However, once their conditions were met, they would become extremely powerful. The black-faced Rakshasa was a big demon in Japan, but not the strongest. Kunkka was already one of the strongest in North America. One could imagine how great the difference in power between the spiritual world in North America and the spiritual world in Japan was. Now, Chun Zhao had a chance to fight with the strongest demon in Japan. Chun Zhao couldn't help but guess that the Japanese's supernatural world was already so powerful. In that case, just how powerful would the Huaxiao region's supernatural world be? And how powerful would the top Chinese supernatural world be? He had to find a chance to ask Zhang Tianyi, "President, can you fly me back?" "No, the city is too eye-catching." This place was far from the city, but it was still densely populated. Their battle, just now, had already attracted attention. There were already police cars moving in their direction. If he really flew back to the hotel with Klaus, they would probably be monitored by the government. Just then, police sirens could be heard in the distance. The two spent an hour returning to the hotel. As soon as they entered, Chun Zhao and Klaus paused at the same time. "President, yeah, you noticed too, right? Is it those two rats?" Chun Zhao could only notice them because of the perception of the small world. But Klaus was different. He relied on his awareness and the few traces he had. This was his super battle awareness that he'd trained in countless battles. "Let's go upstairs first. Don't fight here. They can't hide from my senses." "Song, are you sure the person with the demon knife is that man?" "Yes, my nose is very sensitive. It's at least 100 times better than yours. He won't kill us, right? We've killed many people." "I don't know, but he's our only chance." The two rats followed Chun Zhao and Klaus into the hotel. Using his scent, they found Chun Zhao's floor. "It's the room in front." The two rats snuck to the door. The door wasn't closed. Without thinking, they crawled into the room. But the moment they entered, the door was closed. Song and Sickle were dumbfounded. There were many people in the room, and almost all of them were foreigners. Everyone looked at Song and Sickle with evil intentions. "Rats! Rats!" Jerlin pointed at Song and Sickle in surprise. Two big rats, two big rats. Dad, I want big rats." Song and Sickle immediately wanted to escape. But the next moment, a large net fell over their heads. Song and Sickle were dragged to the center of the crowd. Song and Sickle hugged each other in fear, trembling. Fei Lai glanced at Chun Zhao and whispered, You can't keep rats in the house. Phalai liked small animals, but she couldn't like all of them. For example, she couldn't feel anything for the two rats. Gaia lifted the net and studied them closely. Chun, do they have some disease? In the Western view, rats were unclean. Zherlin jumped up, trying to grab Song and Sickle, who were in the air. Squeak, squeak. Song and Sickle looked fierce. Chun Zhao reached out and grabbed the two rats in the net. You better keep your claws. If you bite my daughter, I'll skin you. Oh, I'm Chinese. Have you heard that we Chinese can eat any species until they're endangered? Chapter 17-18. Song retracted his claws and fangs decisively. Tell me, why are you following us? Do you want to attack us? Chun Zhao stared at the two monsters with a cold expression. It wasn't that they were weak. Itachi was a rather famous monster in Japanese mythology. He wasn't that weak either. However, they were short of one. Moreover, they were facing a large group of people. Their aura was extremely weak. They had no other choice but to pretend to be pitiful. We want to borrow your demon knife. Song looked at Chun Zhao, trembling. Borrow? Are you that elegant? Are you planning to steal or rob? Chun Zhao had seen them kill and rob on the streets. They didn't show mercy at all. Of course, Chun Zhao couldn't be bothered to argue with them. This was Japan anyway. It had nothing to do with him, unless it was like now, plotting against him. Otherwise, he wouldn't care at all. Japan's spirit world was different from North America's. The Japanese mainly dealt with monsters by suppressing or purifying them. To them, it didn't matter how many people a monster killed. The more ferocious a demon was, the more merit one would gain if they were purified. North America was mostly dominated by evil spirits. There would be some disturbances from other monsters or magical beasts. Furthermore, as long as it was an evil spirit or a magical beast that had taken human life, it would basically be hard for it to escape death. The two regions had different standards. Of course, it was also because they had different views. So, Chun Zhao didn't care how many people these two monsters killed. In Japan, there were no monsters that didn't kill people. The only difference was how many or how few they killed. Otherwise, they would be the kind that couldn't even beat normal people. What do you want a demon knife for? Are you going to start a massacre? It wasn't that Chun Zhao looked down on them. With their strength, let alone the fact that they would be controlled by the demon blade if they took it. Even if they could maintain their sense of self, they wouldn't be able to cause much trouble. In less than half a day, they would be suppressed. Especially since this was Tokyo, the place with the most spiritualists and supernatural organizations. No. We want to use the demon knife to find our brother Yao. What does finding your brother have to do with stealing the demon knife? Every bewitching blade has a special ability, hunt. Song said, as long as it is stained with the blood of the prey. Even if the prey escapes to the ends of the earth, the demon blade will still be able to find it. Do you have your brother's blood? Yes. Chun Zhao rubbed his chin. What do I get out of helping you find your brother? Our brother has medicine. He has a medicine pouch. The medicine in that medicine pouch can quickly heal external injuries. As long as it's not the head or a vital point, it can instantly heal any cuts or external injuries, Sickle said. Chun Zhao sank into deep thought. The medicine didn't seem to be effective on him. However, he thought about his family and the people in the association. This medicine was very useful to them. After all, everyone had an emergency. Are you sure your brother is still alive? Of course, we three brothers are of the same origin. If the medicine dies, we won't be able to live either. The two brothers were so anxious to save the medicine. It was not just because of their brotherhood. At the same time, the three brothers' lives were tied together. If one of them died, the other two would die as well. The Weasel Sickle race was like this. They had a litter of three brothers. They came from the same origin and entrusted their lives to each other. Thus, the Weasel Sickle race had always been protective of their kin. Sure, I'll help you, Chun Zhao agreed readily after a short moment of consideration. Just then, Portia pushed the door open and saw more than 20 people in the room. Chun Zhao also had 2 rats in his hands. Rats, these guys are so boring. Gaia walked up and put her arm around Portia's shoulder. I caught 2 rats, and they're having so much fun. Let's go to another room. Portia hurriedly followed Gaia out of the room. Are all Japanese rats this big? Portia asked with lingering fear. Such a big rat was definitely a big shock to her. She thought about the size of the two rats. She felt that she would have nightmares tonight. No, I can't feel it all. Chen Zhao shook his head. He smeared Weasel Sickle's blood on it, but he couldn't feel the existence of the medicine or his location. But it couldn't be helped. After all, Chen Zhao wasn't controlled by the demon blade. Of course, he couldn't enjoy the power it gave him. To Chen Zhao, the demon blade had no other use other than being sharper than regular weapons. Let me try, West said at that moment. West, the demon blade can control people. Are you sure? Chen Zhao looked at West hesitantly. He didn't want one of them to take such a risk to save a monster. President, I'm confident, West said. President, I can cast a soul light on West to protect his consciousness from being eroded, Raz said. I have a soul pendant here, Ruan Faxben said. It can also prevent consciousness from being eroded. He was rather interested in this deal. He was mainly interested in the medicine pouch. If he got it, he could use it for research. Okay, cast a spell on West first, and hang the soul pendant on him too, Chen Zhao said. West, if I find anything wrong with you, don't blame me for knocking you out. Yes, I know. West nodded slightly. After Raz cast a spell on West, Ruan Faxben took out the soul pendant and put it on. Chen Zhao shielded Fei Lai, Zhilin, and Larissa behind him. Chen Zhao protected Fei Lai, Zhilin, and Larissa behind him. He didn't want anything to happen to his family. The moment West took the demon blade, his body turned into a warrior. West's body instantly turned into a warrior, releasing a red, demonic aura. Everyone stared at West warily. After all, they weren't sure if West could keep his mind. West, how are you now? West opened his eyes silently and turned to Chen Zhao. I'm fine. The demon blade didn't affect my mind. Chen Zhao realized that West's reaction was much smaller than he'd imagined. He felt that even without the soul pendant and Raz's spell, West could probably resist the demon blade's control. Chen Zhao didn't expect West to be so mentally strong. Can you feel where the medicine is? West wiped the blood on the demon blade and sniffed it. Then he nodded. Yes. Great, where is he? Where is he now? Song and Sickle asked impatiently. Chapter 17-19. Chen Zhao followed West, as did Scythe and Song. West, you don't seem to need external protection, Chen Zhao said curiously. You're still immune to the demon's control. President, it's actually very simple. Think of Devil Blade's mental corruption as a virus. He can invade and control a human's brain, and a human's brain is like a Microsoft system. However, this virus can invade every system. Coincidentally, my system is different from a normal person's. West laughed. It was different from Chen Zhao, who completely blocked the power of the demon blade. West, on the other hand, was completely immune. The results of both were the same, but the method was different. West, are you an alien? West rolled his eyes. Sickle and Song were anxious. They really wanted to urge Chen Zhao and West to speed up. But Chen Zhao and West were not in a hurry at all. They took their time. All right, why did that Song Yuan Wang ask you guys to rob for him? He should have that ability, right? To be honest, as long as spiritualists weren't scrupulous, it was not difficult to earn money. Moreover, he was a bad person to begin with. Song Yuan Wang shouldn't have such a psychological burden, right? West rolled his eyes at Chen Zhao. President, can we not ask such stupid questions? What? Is that a stupid question? Chen Zhao didn't even realize that he had asked a stupid question. If he didn't know, he just didn't know. The transaction between a spiritualist and an ordinary person must be an equivalent exchange. Of course, employment is also a type of equivalent exchange. If a spiritualist uses extreme means to plunder the wealth of an ordinary person, then he will be punished, and it will be a punishment from fate. Supernatural creatures can't use human money directly, West said. They can only be given, and it has to be the money of the dead. In other words, the two of them have to kill the person before they can steal the money and give the money to the primordial wilderness Sangi. That's the process. The two of them will bear the consequences. That Sangyi Yuan Huang will enjoy the final benefit. West nodded. Shen Zhao thought about it. That seemed to be the case. Generally speaking, supernatural creatures did not have the habit of using human currency. This seemed to be restricted by the rules. For example, the evil spirit group in the association always asked their followers to pay for their purchases. Only a weirdo like Tsang Yuan Wang, who was half human and half demon. There was the restriction of a demon, but also the desire of a human. He was driven by Tamamo no Mei, but he also wanted to break free from her restraints. To be honest, the 1,000 years without Tamamo no Mei was probably the most carefree life he had ever had. A long life, a prosperous life, and the power to do as you please. Shen Zhao was a little envious. Of course, Sangyi Yuan Wang didn't really do whatever he wanted. This was Japan, and there were countless talented people here. Even he needed to keep a low profile. West, since you're completely immune to the Devil Blade's control, I'll let you use the Devil Blade when we get back. It can make up for your lack of attack power. West shook his head. I'm not suitable. Why? Not only can the Devil Blade control a person's consciousness, but can also subtly change a person's personality, making them cruel and bloodthirsty. This change is very subtle and hard to detect. Therefore, other than you, who can completely resist the Devil Blade's power, no one else is suitable. Didn't you say that your system is different from normal people? It's alive and has its own consciousness. Even computer viruses can self-evolve, let alone the Devil Blade. Fine, but this thing is useless to me, Chen Zhao said with pity. It's a disaster if I keep it. It's better to destroy it. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Just then the Devil Blade in West's hand buzzed. What's wrong? He's scared. He's terrified. Is he afraid? As long as he has consciousness, he'll be afraid. It's not strange. Chen Zhao wouldn't be soft-hearted just because the Devil Blade was afraid. This thing was a scourge. Whoever held it would turn into a madman. The Japanese spiritual world had a habit. They always liked to keep some weapons or monsters with great destructive power. To control these weapons or monsters, one would have to pay a huge price. However, everyone enjoyed it and never got tired. This was called preventive measures. Of course, most of the trouble was caused by these things too. Shen Zhao didn't have this habit, not to mention the fact that this thing was useless to him. Even if it was useful, Chen Zhao wouldn't keep it. Unknowingly, Chen Zhao, West, and the two rats arrived at a residential area. West, are you sure you're not going the wrong way? No, I can feel it, West said. West said, based on the feeling from the demon blade, the owner of this drop of blood is nearby and is in a weakened state. Can you confirm the location? Chen Zhao asked. The area wasn't big or small, but it was densely populated. There were probably tens of thousands of people living here. In such a densely populated area, it would be hard to find without special methods. The Devil Blade isn't willing to cooperate. Also, his power is withdrawing from my body. Chen Zhao pouted. This kind of self-consciousness was annoying. Chen Zhao took the Devil Blade from West's hand. If you're not willing to cooperate, I'll destroy you now. Chen Zhao handed the Devil Blade to West. How is it? Is he cooperating? He said he wants to negotiate with you. Fuck, so annoying. You're in charge of talking to him, Chen Zhao said. Fine. Holding the Devil Blade, West stood where he was, not moving at all. Sickle and Tsang were very anxious. They could vaguely smell their brother's scent in the area, but there were too many people here. They couldn't determine the exact location in a short time. After a while, West opened his eyes. President, his only request is that you don't destroy him. Did you agree? My request is that he must unconditionally obey the orders of everyone in the association and lend his power to them. Also, he can't corrupt their consciousness. What did he say? He said that if we want to borrow his power, we have to see blood. Otherwise, he'll become weaker and weaker. Devil Blades all had the ability to kill. This was how they existed for a long time. The more they killed, the stronger they became. For example, Chen Zhao had used it twice before without killing. The Devil Blade was consuming its own power. If this went on, it would become an ordinary blade. Divine Emperor of the Nine Heavens. Chapter 17:20. This meant that he might not be able to use the demon knife in most battles. After all, there might not be blood in many battles, especially battles between spiritualists. Most of the time, they wouldn't stop until one of them was dead. For example, Chun Zhao's few conflicts with his psionic ability team had all stopped at the right time. "We'll end the negotiation here," Chun Zhao threatened. "But you have to cooperate with us to find the medicine first. Otherwise, I'll kill you right now." "President, he's starting to guide us." Hikari and Kama were naturally the happiest. They didn't care about the demon knife. They only cared about their brother. "It's here. I can feel it. Your brother's medicine is upstairs." Two people and two mice stopped in front of a 5-story apartment. It was obviously a cheap apartment. It was specially provided for low-income people. Many families with low incomes, even families of 4 or 5 people, were squeezed into a small apartment of 20 to 30 square meters. This kind of cheap apartment was very common in Japan, especially in Tokyo. Can you accurately sense which floor it's on? Search one floor at a time. After a while, they arrived at the 5th floor. "It should be on this floor," Wes said. "The smell here is the strongest. I can smell the medicine too." The two mice didn't wait for Wes to lead the way. They ran up first. "It's here." The two mice stopped before a door. "You two hide first. West, put away the demon knife." Chun Zhao had the two mice hide because he could sense that there were only 2 people in the room. One of them had some spiritual power, while the other was a normal person. Of course, Chun Zhao also smelled the medicine. "Knock, knock, knock." "Who is it?" Just then, the door opened. The moment Chio opened the door, she fell to the ground in fear. "Ah!" Chio's scream attracted Chio Kaori. "Xiao Yi, Mr. Chunder, Mafia. He's a mafia," Chio yelled in fear. "Are you here to kill me?" Chun Zhao and West's faces darkened. "What did you do to make us come all the way here?" Chio Kaori froze, and her expression darkened. "Mr. Chun, I need to explain." "Explain what? What explanation do you need?" Chun Zhao smiled at Chio Kaori. "You hurt my sister." No, I didn't. If I had hurt her, she would have been fed to the sharks." "She's my sister." Chio Kaori's face was gloomy. She was a little protective. After all, she was her younger sister, and they had depended on each other since they were young. Chio Kaori knew that her younger sister had many shortcomings. However, she was his sister. Because of this, Chio Kaori couldn't tolerate what Chun Zhao had done. "Miss Chio, I'm not here to cause trouble for your sister." "Then what are you doing here?" "My pet ran away. We found that it seemed to have run into your house." "What pet?" "We don't have any cats or dogs." "It's not a cat or a dog. In fact, it's a rat. A very big rat." "You're here to look for Little Gray?" Chio's face revealed a suspicious expression. "Little Gray? Is that the new name you gave it?" "If it likes a new name, maybe I'll consider renaming it," Chun Zhao said indifferently. "Can you get it back to me now?" What Little Gray?" Chio Kaori was also confused. "I picked it up on a road a few days ago. It was injured, so I brought it back." "Picking up a rat on the street?" This girl's taste was really unique. Chio Kaori didn't plan to keep it for herself, even though she didn't want to part with Little Gray. However, its owner had come to find them. Moreover, the owner was someone they couldn't afford to offend. So, she could only carry Little Gray out of the room. Chio Kaori's pupils suddenly contracted. The big rat was very weak, but Chio Kaori could recognize its aura. It also looked almost the same as the previous 2 ferrets. Chio Kaori suddenly reached out and blocked Chio Kaori. Chio Kaori's eyes were like torches as she stared at Chun Zhao and West behind him. Chio Kaori's eyes were like torches as she stared at Chun Zhao and West behind him. "Mr. Chun, you're saying that the rat is your pet?" "Yes." "Is there a problem? Can you show me evidence?" Chun Zhao snapped his fingers and song, and sickle ran out. "Can the 2 of them count as evidence?" Chio Kaori narrowed her eyes. She had already recognized them. These 2 mice were the ones that he had encountered in the abandoned factory. "Miss Chio, I believe you don't want the situation to become more complicated, right? Give Little Gray back to me, and I'll leave." Chio Kaori's expression darkened. She'd appeared gentle and introverted before. In reality, the real Chio Kaori was an extremely proud person. I can take it away, but you have to at least give me the right to see you. Your sister is an ordinary person. Are you sure you want her to know your identity? Chen Zhao asked. You already knew my identity? Chio Kaori furrowed her brows. This wasn't a good feeling. She'd thought that she'd hidden it well. No one had ever been able to find out her identity before she took the initiative to reveal it. But Chen Zhao had clearly broken this norm. Chio Kaori was confused. She couldn't understand the conversation between Chen Zhao and her sister. This man said that her sister wasn't an ordinary person. What did he mean? Or was it because her English was too poor and she misunderstood? Yes, I knew from the first day. The light in the room started to show unstable voltage. Chio Kaori seemed to want to fight Chen Zhao directly. Cough. Little girl, don't be too stubborn. You don't have any direct conflicts of interest with us. We might have some small misunderstandings before, but there's no need to turn against each other, right? West walked in and stood before Chio Kaori. He picked up the medicine and turned to leave. Chio Kaori realized that she couldn't move at all. She could only let the old foreigner walk around her, but she couldn't even move a finger. Miss Chio, we still need a guide. If you're interested, you're welcome to continue your previous work. Goodbye. Chio Kaori's face turned red in anger. Chio Kaori didn't break free until Chen Zhao and West left. Damn it. Chio Kaori charged out of the room and chased after them. But when she rushed to the walkway, Chen Zhao, West, and the two skunk scythe had all disappeared. Sister, who exactly are those people? And they said that you're not an ordinary person. Who are you? None of your business, Chio Kaori said with a dark expression. She didn't want her sister to get involved in supernatural events. Nine Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 17:21. After walking around that night, Chen Zhao felt the presence of monsters around him at least 10 times. He didn't know how chaotic Tokyo was right now, but he was sure that the government's head was about to explode. After returning to the hotel, Chen Zhao looked at Song and Sickle. I saved your brother. Where's the thing you promised me? Give it to me. Yao is still unconscious. The pouch is in his stomach. We can only take it out after he wakes up. Chen Zhao's face darkened. How big was the pouch? It was actually in his stomach. West, keep an eye on them. Don't let them escape. Yes, I'll have more watch them. West was also an old fox. It was better to let others do this. But he didn't have to watch them too closely. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was chaotic outside. The three of them weren't strong, but they weren't weak either. But they were afraid that someone would target them. It would be fine if it was a human. At worst, they would be captured and used as a shikigami. Or they would be sealed. But if they were targeted by monsters, they might even be treated as snacks. Dad, where's the rat? Where's the big rat? Jerlin ran in again. Feilai followed behind, clearly not looking good. She was afraid of rats and hated them. Don't ask why. Jerlin had already run to Song and Sickle. She reached out to pull their tails. She didn't know what fear was. To Jerlin, she could play with all the big pets in the house. Rats could too. Standing beside Chen Zhao, Feilai whispered, if Jerlin says she wants to keep them, just kill them secretly. Anyway, they can't appear in our house. Song and Sickle shuddered. They were monsters. They'd heard Feilai's voice. Chen Zhao kicked Rhizome and Sickle. You understand English? We're over 300 years old. 3 of us is 900 years old. What one of us learns, the other can learn too. We have a few master's degrees alone. Do you think English is a problem for us? What are you so arrogant about? Chen Zhao sneered. I'll sacrifice you to the demon knife. Song and Sickle stopped talking. Chen Zhao's fist was bigger. Song, Sickle, and Yao were placed in an empty room. Little Jerlin didn't mind at all. However, most of the people in the association couldn't stand living under the same roof as rats. Feilai usually gave Jerlin the impression that she was a loving mother, but when it came to rats, Jerlin couldn't help it. She, on the other hand, acted out of character. In any case, she did not allow little Jerlin to keep mice. Greenwood Plains, Suicide Forest. Although this place was originally the world's holy land for suicide, however, there was still a small number of tourist groups that treated this place as a tourist attraction. But now, this place was completely off limits. Since 2 months ago, this place had been shrouded in mist. Several tourist groups had disappeared in the forest because of this. In fact, the forest of the Greenwood Plains had been completely surrounded. All the shrines had sent their elites to set up enchantments here. The Tokyo Grand Shrine's encampment was to the southeast of Aoki Plains Forest. 30 spiritualists set up a barrier here. The leader was a girl who looked like a high school student. In fact, she was a high school student and a candidate for the Grand Shrine of Tokyo. Nagasaka Reiko, the daughter of the monk Seiwa. She was also the granddaughter of Yoko Shirai. In Japan, most of the shrines were managed and passed down through the family inheritance method. Of course, normally, the shaman and the abba were the leaders. One was in charge of internal affairs, while the other was in charge of external affairs. However, the two belonged to two completely different priesthood systems. One was Shinto, mainly serving the Tianjin gods who were led by the Amaterasu great god. The other was Buddhist, of course, serving the Buddha. However, this kind of combination wasn't rare in Japanese shrines. Although there were religious conflicts in Japan, they weren't fierce. They would even merge with each other. The Tokyo Grand Shrine wasn't an exception. The shamans were like the spokespersons of God. So most of the time, their words represented the will of God. Some shrine shamans were specific. In order to maintain the purity of the bloodline, they would use intermarriage within the clan to give birth. Just like the Japanese royal family, the royal family in the past used intermarriage within the clan to ensure the purity of the bloodline. The Tokyo Grand Shrine didn't have such a requirement. For example, the current shaman, Yoko Shirai, was an outsider. However, Yoko Shirai herself was an extremely powerful spiritualist. Plus, she had an illustrious background and was also Zhang Tianyi's student. To put it bluntly, she was equivalent to returning from studying in the spiritual world. Therefore, it was only natural for her to marry into Changban and take over the position of shaman. Damn it, the miasma is expanding outward again. Nagasaka Reiko cursed. Retreat 1 kilometer. Although they had set up a barrier here to prevent the spread of the miasma. But the effect was not obvious. Miss, the miasma is growing especially fast this time. I'm afraid 1 kilometer is not enough. We have to retreat at least 5 kilometers. The one who spoke was Nagasaka Reiko's henchman. Every generation of shamans had their own henchmen and followers. It was similar to the change of government. Those in power would have their own leadership team. Of course, to subdue henchmen and followers, one needed enough ability and personal charm. Then retreat 5 kilometers. Nagasaka Reiko said with an ugly expression. By the way, report the situation here to Grandma. At this moment, there is a sudden commotion in front of them. What's going on? A group of monsters wants to break through our line of defense and enter the miasma. Damn bastards, destroy them all for me. Nagasaka Reiko had a fiery temper, and she was in a depressed mood. Just like in human society, there was also worship among monsters. There were always some monsters who felt that the appearance of Tamamo no May could change the situation of monsters. Therefore, they couldn't wait to pledge their loyalty to her. This was not the first group of monsters. Before this, there were several groups of monsters who also had the same idea. At this moment, a bird monster in the sky rushed into the mist. Not long after the bird monster disappeared into the miasma, a miserable scream was heard. A bunch of idiots, Nagasaka Reiko said with a black face. These monsters also couldn't escape the misfortune of entering the miasma. They thought that they could hug the thigh, but in fact they would only become nourishment for the stone of slaughter. Would Tamamo no May care about the loyalty of these ants? Obviously not. To him, these weak little monsters were no different from humans in essence. At this time, the miasma spread out a bit more. Nagasaka Reiko quickly retreated with her people. If they also fell into the miasma, it would be very troublesome. There is only one person who could freely enter and exit the miasma, Zhang Tianyi. 9 Heaven's Divine Emperor. Chapter 1722. Early in the morning, Chun Zhao did not expect Zhang Tianyi to come at this time. Chun Zhao. Zhang Tianyi looked at the sumptuous breakfast before him, and his face darkened. Is this what you eat every day? More accurately, it's breakfast. Last night, we found 3 corpses in the suburbs. They were all powerful monsters and confirmed to be 3 of Tamamo no Mei's 4 generals. Zhang Tianyi looked at Chun Zhao. You did it? Yes. Didn't you say that killing the 4 generals could stop Tamamo no Mei from appearing? They happened to be together. It was a rare opportunity, so I killed them. Chun Zhao asked, what? Is Tamamo no longer going to appear? You came all the way here to thank me? Zhang Tianyi smiled wryly. It's not that Tamamo no longer will appear, but that she'll be unsealed earlier. What? It didn't work? Chun Zhao asked. No, we all fell for it. Stopping the 4 generals can stop Tamamo no Mei from appearing, but it's actually Tamamo no Mei's scheme. I don't understand how this has anything to do with her. I didn't either, but the 3 generals you killed had remnants of Tamamo no Mei's demonic aura on them. And then, they were born because of Tamamo no Mei. Tamamo no Mei left monster chi on them. Before she was sealed, she purposely said that their appearance would cause her to come out. That's not wrong, though. Zhang Tianyi bitterly smiled and shook his head. Because once they appear, the spirit realm will do everything in their power to hunt them down, and their demonic chi will return to Tamamo no Mei. Now that Tamamo no Mei is sealed in the Stone of Slaughter, the demonic chi has become masterless. It will attack the seal on the Stone of Slaughter from the outside, forcing the seal to collapse even faster. With both the inside and the outside working together, Tamamo no Mei will appear earlier. So you're here to denounce me for my crimes. Do you think I dare? Zhang Tianyi rolled his eyes. You're the main force this time. Are you prepared? When do you think Tamamo no Mei will appear? It won't be more than 3 days. As for the exact time, it's not up to us to decide. It's up to Tamamo no Mei to decide. She can come out whenever she wants. Let me ask you something, Chun Zhao said. What? Is this Tamamo related to the 9-tailed fox in China? I don't know. Zhang Tianyi thought that Chun Zhao was going to ask something. Rumor has it that Tamamo no Mei is a 9-tailed fox from China. She came to Japan to cause trouble. However, this was only a rumor. There was no concrete evidence. Also, it was rumored that Tamamo no Mei was a man. However, it seemed like even the Japanese could not prove it. This was because no matter where they were in Japan, 9-tailed fox or Tamamo no Mei would always appear as a woman. Furthermore, the 9-tailed fox was rumored to be the fox of Green Hill. It wasn't a mountain spirit or a wild monster. There were also wild foxes that became spirits, but they wouldn't grow more than 1 tail. There were only females in the Green Hill foxes, no males. If they wanted to continue the family line, they had to go out and find a man. Since Tamamo no Mei was a 9-tailed fox, she should have come from the Green Mountains. If that was the case, then Tamamo no Mei should have been a woman. No, more accurately, it should be a female. Of course, Chun Zhao was more interested in the legendary beauty's face. Just how beautiful was this peerless face? How much longer do you want to eat? Until I'm finished. Why? Do you want some too? Come with me to the forest of Greenwood Plains. Guard there. There's no rush, right? Once Tamamo no Mei comes out, we have to stop her immediately, Zhang Tianyi said frankly. I can't stop her, so you have to do it. Of course, this was also because he cherished his life. If he wanted to stop Tamamo no Mei, he might have to risk his life. It was better to let Chun Zhao take the lead. After all, Chun Zhao's strongest point was his thick skin. But my wife and kids are here. I'll watch for you. Zhang Tianyi felt a headache coming on. Fine, watch for me. But I'm telling you, if anything happens to my wife and kids, I'll tear down Dragon Tiger Mountain. Okay, I'll make sure your wife and kids are safe. With Zhang Tianyi's guarantee, Chun Zhao wasn't worried about anything happening to his wife and kids. As long as it wasn't a powerful demon like Tamamo no Mei, nothing could threaten Fei Lai and the kids. But she doesn't need to come so early. The yang energy is so strong during the day. Tamamo no Mei probably won't come out during the day. Boom! Just then, there was an earthquake on the ground. The tremor was very strong. In the tremor, Chun Zhao could clearly feel a strong demonic aura. Chun Zhao really wanted to slap himself. I jinxed it. It hasn't come out yet, and there's already such a terrifying demonic aura. No wonder it's a powerful demon. I wonder if she's pretty. Chen Zhao started imagining Tamamonome's unparalleled beauty. I heard she's really pretty. She can mesmerize even the heavens. Zhang Tianyi started acting like an old man again. With a conflicted expression, he said, I suddenly want to go and see. The miasma is gone. What's going on? Why is the miasma gone? I don't know. During the earthquake, the miasma retreated a few kilometers. Nagasaka Reiko's expression was serious. I'm afraid that thing is going to come out. Just then, a group of people came from behind. Most of them were monk soldiers. Some of them were dressed like witches. The ones in the lead were Hikari Yoko and Holy Harmony. Grandma, father, why are you here? That thing is going to appear. How can we not come? Hikari Yoko said seriously. Grandma, is Tamamonome really going to appear? Nagasaka Reiko's expression was complicated. It was hard to tell whether it was excitement or fear. No matter how terrifying Tamamonome was, she was still a legendary existence. But now, they were about to witness history, an existence that only existed in history and legends. At this moment, another strong earthquake occurred on the ground. On Mount Fuji in the distance, the snow on the top of the mountain caused the rocks to tumble down. Very soon, it became a landslide. An even stronger demonic aura emanated from the forest of the Greenwood Plains. At the same time, the miasma shrunk again. However, in the area that had been covered by the miasma, the leaves had withered. There was no vitality at all. Another group of people came from behind, but they weren't from the shrine. They weren't even Japanese. Instead, they were spiritualists from other countries. There were quite a few of them, too. Judging from their skin and hair color, they could form a United Nations. Ms. Yoko, hello. One of the older priests walked over. He seemed to know Hikari Yoko. Father Okur, you're here. Hikari Yoko called out in surprise and joy. Although this place isn't illuminated by the Lord's light, the lambs here also enjoy the Lord's glory. They can't be blasphemed by evil. Father Okur's words sounded more like a missionary. Those who didn't know might even think that he was a devout priest. In truth, Father Okur had already been expelled from the headquarters due to his presumptuous contact with heretical magic. 9 Heavens God Emperor. Chapter 17:23. Although the church was also one of the 3 major religions in this world, they were more resistant to foreign religions. They felt that other religions were all heresy and that other gods were all evil gods. Father Okur was, of course, a staunch shepherd of the Lord. However, he felt that the magic or spells of other religions had their merits. Simply put, Father Okur was a believer of God, but not a believer of the church. When it came to upholding justice, he was almost impeccable. For example, this time, the seal on the Japanese Rock of Slaughter had loosened. He directly brought people to help. Although the Japanese spiritual world had already sent out a request for help to the entire world. But Father Okur came purely on his own accord. Not long after, another group of spiritualists arrived. This time, all of them had blonde hair and blue eyes. Vestana rubbed her nose. The place was filled with an unpleasant smell. She smelled demonic aura. Even though she wasn't a spiritualist, she still smelled demonic aura. The demonic aura here was so thick that even ordinary people could smell it. She and the psionic team already saw a large group of spiritualists in front of them. However, they didn't go up to greet them. This was her first time leading a team on a mission abroad. However, as soon as they arrived in Japan, the Japanese spiritual world sent out a request for help. This forced them to change their plans. Of course, this time in Japan. Vestana also realized the difference between a spiritual desert and a spiritual peak. During the first 2 days of her arrival, she was still somewhat proud. Then, she found a few Japanese spiritual organizations and communicated with them. The process was quite pleasant. After all, the Japanese paranormal organizations had treated them warmly after receiving the money. However, they didn't want to be treated warmly. They wanted to communicate. Of course, it wasn't that there was no communication at all. However, through this communication, Vestana felt similar to the feelings of the Chinese football fans. The other party also pointed out their shortcomings. For example, the members of the psionic team were too simple. Their individual strength couldn't be said to be very weak. They could only be considered average. However, when they teamed up for battle, their cooperation was almost non-existent. If it was a one-on-one battle, they could still fight back and forth. They could win 2 or 3 out of 10 battles. However, if it was a team battle, it was simply unsightly. The other party won almost every battle with an absolute advantage. They even won with 0 casualties. Vestana made up her mind to look for an Eastern instructor when she returned. With enough money, he would definitely be able to find a powerful instructor. Dongfang. Miss Vestana, the man in front seems to be waving at us, Brits said. Vestana looked ahead and saw a man dressed like a priest waving at them from the crowd in front of them. Vestana stepped forward and greeted the priest. Hello. How can I help you? You're an ordinary person? Or are you so strong that I can no longer tell how strong you are? Father Ochre asked. Hello, Father. I am an ordinary person. Ordinary people? All right, call your men over. Father Oak said. He did not ask why a normal person like Vestana would join in the fun. Everyone has their own reasons. He would not interfere with other people's decisions. Call my people over? What for? Little girl, Father Ochre has the reputation of being the #1 saint in Northern Europe. He called your people over to give them blessings, Bairi Yoko said. Oh, please wait a moment. Vestana called the psionic team over. All of you, stand over there and gather together. Father Ochre ordered the psionic team members to stand together with the people from Tokyo Grand Shrine. After the two sides stood together, Father Ochre activated his magic. Holy light. Father Ochre let out a resonant shout. In an instant, a ball of holy energy appeared above the heads of the dozens of people. The holy light enveloped everyone, and everyone felt their bodies were filled with power. Even Vestana felt her body was filled with power, and her spirit was at its peak. Miss Yoko, do you want a blessing? No need for that. You should save your mana for a direct confrontation with Tamamo no Mei, Bairi Yoko said. The two of them were evenly matched. If Father Ochre gave her a blessing, half of Father Ochre's mana would be used up, while Bairi Yoko might not be able to increase her strength by even half. So in comparison, it was a bit of a loss. All right, if you need anything, you can ask me anytime, Father Ochre said generously. At this time, more and more people arrived. There were already 200 to 300 people gathered here, and the number was still increasing. Some were excited, while others had a serious expression. There were so many psychics from all over the world, including many experts. This was also one of the gathering points. The other gathering points of Aoki Plain also had quite a lot of people. Preliminary estimation, there were at least 2,000 psychics from all over the world. Kaori, there are quite a lot of people here, Sakurako exclaimed. This place was like a huge and noisy market, with people coming and going. Ishino Murata kept swinging his left arm. His arm had already been reattached, and it was quickly healed using magic. But Ishino Murata was still not used to it. Little Devil Star was wiping 2 brand new katanas. Chio Kori's expression was very heavy. There's so many people, Mitsuki Kishimoto said doubtfully. No matter how strong the 1,000-year fox spirit is, she can't win, right? Hard to say. Chio Kori did not know how strong the legendary Tamamo no Mei was. But her spiritual retainer was telling her to run. Run. This was the first time Chio Kori's spiritual retainer had lost its composure and panicked. In the past, she had also encountered strong enemies. But even the legendary monsters, her spiritual retainer had never retreated. As long as she needed it, it would always fight bravely for her. But this time, her spiritual retainer was not normal. Just how terrifying was the legendary Tamamo no Mei? She could actually scare her spiritual retainer like this. Oh, Miss Chio, you're here too. Chio Kaori heard an annoying voice. Turning around, she saw Chun Zhao walking over with his hands in his pockets. What are you doing here? Watching the show, Chun Zhao said matter-of-factly. Chio Kaori looked at him unkindly. Aren't you afraid of dying here? I won't die. Chen Zhao grinned. Kaori, is he your enemy? Do you need her help? Mitsuki Kishimoto asked in a low voice. Nine Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1724. Chiyo Kaori and her companions were all on the same side. Years of revolutionary friendship had made them trust each other. They were all pointing their guns at the same time. Therefore, Chen Zhao seemed a bit weak when facing the five of them. Are you sure you want to fight me here? That's not a smart choice. Chen Zhao looked at the five with an annoying smile. It doesn't take much effort to take care of you. Little Devil had already taken out a pair of katanas. Mr. Chun, do you need help? West Anna walked over with her people. Of course, she wasn't here to help Chen Zhao. She was here to watch the show. She didn't know how strong these Japanese spiritualists were. It would be great if they could teach Chen Zhao an unforgettable lesson. However, she had clearly underestimated Chen Zhao's shamelessness. Of course, I'm glad you came to help me. Thank you so much. I'll leave them to you, Chen Zhao said decisively. West Anna and the members of the psionic ability team were all unhappy. Very unhappy. Rumble. Just then, there was another earthquake. This time, it was much stronger than before. Many people couldn't stand still. To the Japanese, they had long since gotten used to this feeling of being shaken at the slightest provocation. But foreigners might not be used to it. The miasma had shrunk even more. The demonic aura in the air was much thicker. However, this earthquake gave Vestana an excuse to get away. We should fight against the evil monsters together instead of wasting our power on internal fights, Westana said righteously. Of course, if you insist on fighting, we won't interfere, Vestana said sternly. Chen Zhao couldn't help but give her the middle finger. Fuck, that pitiful university student had become so cunning. Were all politicians so shameless? Chen Zhao didn't think that he had also become the kind of people he hated the most, rich people. At this moment, the sky began to darken. At this moment, everyone present could not help but look up. Solar eclipse. Chen Zhao frowned. Was this a coincidence? No matter how strong Tamamo was, she couldn't change the trajectory of the celestial bodies. If she was really strong enough to change the stars, then Chen Zhao had to admit that he lost. In that case, he had to admit that he had lost. The probability of people seeing a total solar eclipse was much lower than a lunar eclipse. The lunar eclipse could be seen by half of the people on Earth. However, because the moon blocked the sun during a total solar eclipse, the moon's shadow was visible during a total solar eclipse. Through the moon's shadow, it was reflected on Earth with a diameter of more than 100 kilometers. In other words, when a solar eclipse occurs, only people within a radius of more than 100 kilometers will be able to see the total solar eclipse. People outside this area could only see a partial solar eclipse at most. Therefore, Chen Zhao felt that the probability of this coincidence was too low. But it really happened. There was another possibility. Tamamo no Mei had already calculated the time of the eclipse. The shadow was slowly eroding towards the sun. Gradually, the entire land was plunged into darkness. When the sun was completely covered, the outer corona could still be seen. However, the corona did not last long. The moment the shadow completely enveloped the corona, true darkness descended. Who? A gust of wind blew through the center of the greenwood plain. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Everyone knew that a peerless demon had been born. A huge figure the size of a small mountain appeared in the center of the greenwood plain. Chen Zhao looked over. It was a body even larger than Amanda Didier. A nine-tailed demon fox. Boundless demonic aura spread out from the nine-tailed fox's body. The trees around Chen Zhao were blown down by the wind. Then, an even more shocking scene appeared. Mount Fuji erupted without warning. Crimson magma and volcanic ash burst out and soared into the sky. The sky was immediately covered by volcanic ash. It was too fast. Before the eclipse was over, the volcanic ash had already covered the sky. At that moment, be it the Japanese spiritualists or the reinforcements, they were all stunned by this shocking scene. Was this the phenomenon caused by the appearance of a peerless demon? Formation! Yoko Hakui, who was at the front, yelled. The people from the Tokyo Grand Shrine formed a huge formation. The outermost were the monks' soldiers. In the center were the 5 witches. Yoko Hakui stood in the center and took a golden bow from her shoulder. Wheat ears were carved on both sides of the bow. The bowstring seemed to be made of hemp. Qin Zhao looked at the Tokyo Grand Shrine's formation. He didn't understand formations, but it didn't stop him from observing the flow of magical power. All the monks' soldiers and witches poured magical power into Yoko Hakui at the same time. Yoko Hakui slowly pulled the bowstring. There were no arrows on the bowstring. However, Hakui Yoko had condensed the purest mana into a golden arrow. Just then, the huge 9-tailed fox noticed the commotion. But he didn't stop it. Instead, he watched the Tokyo Grand Shrine form the formation and Yoko Hakui pull the bow. Suddenly, 2 huge nets appeared on both sides of the 9-tailed fox. The nets rose from the left and right sides and merged into an even larger net, covering the 9-tailed fox. This was a premeditated ambush from the shrines on both sides. Yoko Hakui's eyes flashed, and she released the bowstring. The golden arrow turned into a beam of light and shot toward the 9-tailed fox. Whoosh! Wherever the golden arrow passed, the forest was split open. That was an indescribable arrow that carried with it a mighty force that could destroy anything. The 9-tailed fox lowered its head and suddenly opened its mouth. Roar! In an instant, the roar erupted like a monstrous wave. The golden arrow disappeared before it could even touch the 9-tailed fox. The trees in front of the 9-tailed fox were uprooted. The area within a few kilometers had become a barren wasteland. Not a single blade of grass could be seen. Everyone in the vicinity had already disappeared. The Tokyo Grand Shrine's formation also collapsed. The dozen monk soldiers didn't even have a complete corpse. The witches in the inner circle all spat out a mouthful of blood. Hikari Yoko's face showed a hint of decline, and her body was on the verge of collapse. The 9-tailed fox's 9 tails slapped the ground heavily. In an instant, the ground within a radius of several kilometers began to crack. The cracks spread like a spiderweb. Many spiritualists fell into cracks. Everyone was shocked by the scene. This is Tamamo no Mei. Bastana's face was filled with shock. This monster. Could humans really fight against it? God Emperor of the 9 heavens, that you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.